Good afternoon, everybody. That was quick. I am calling this meeting of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees to order at 1 p.m. Ms. Ramirez, do we have a quorum?
All trustees are present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We will turn it over to Ms. Sarah Neal to give our safety message, invocation, and pledge of allegiance.
Good afternoon. I'll be reviewing the evacuation procedure so that we are prepared to be safe in the event of an emergency. If you hear the fire alarm, follow the instructions announced through the PA system. If asked to evacuate, use the glass doors to exit outside and verbally alert others. We'll move to the main parking lot in front of the building or to the AT&T parking lot at the McCullough-Brooklyn bridges. Our security team will be watching and will notify the appropriate emergency services. Lastly, we do have employees nearby who are trained to administer first aid if needed. Safety is a top priority, and while we hope this information is never needed, we want to ensure that we are prepared. Additionally, we ask that you remain seated during the duration of the meeting, keep the aisles clear, and do not block any exits. Will you please stand with me for an invocation? We thank you for the many blessings you have freely given us. We ask for your presence to guide this meeting of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. Provide them with this knowledge, compassion, and wise counsel needed as they discuss the business matters on today's agenda. Help us to remember that we are stewards acting on behalf of our customers, and provide us with the grace to serve all the people well. We ask this in your name, amen. Now please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Neal. Ms. Gomez, we are ready for public comment, please.
Thank you. Public comment provides an opportunity for members of the public to share thoughts on posted agenda items for this meeting. We will invite pre-registered speakers to speak. They may only address the board on CPS Energy-related business listed on the posted agenda. Speakers should state their first and last name, the organization or group they represent, and the agenda item they will speak about. For this meeting, we have 12 registered in-person speakers. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak. At the conclusion of the 2 minutes, the screen will flash red. Thomas, will you please cue the timer? Our first speaker is Henrietta LaGrange, followed by Deborah Henrich.
May I ask, can you hear me? Because I know the other speakers, I could not hear them, so I want to make sure that I speak directly. My name is Henrietta LaGrange, proud member of the Mulberry Street Girl Gang, LULAC, Raza Unida, and Growing Up Brown. And I would love to thank the retirees of CPS Energy for being here and having their voices heard. My father was a retired CPS employee, and I still have a brother that's a retired CPS employee. And I was telling this young lady, she says, is your brother over 65? I says, don't age me. I won't tell you, but I know he's retired. Thank you. As always, I love being here. And Rudy, CPS, can you hear me? What's wrong with this microphone? Or is it me? No, it's not me. Never me. How a huge impact you have had on CPS Energy. Before you were here, I couldn't set foot in this building, and I never understood why. And I probably will never know why. But I know that when I met Ms. Gonzalez, I says, oh my God, that's an empowered woman just like me. And I love that. And I know we have the third empowered woman here, and that is Gina Ortiz Jones. Ms. Jones, there's not enough words that I can say that I appreciate your strength, because we need women that are powerful and strong, and they need to be heard. I guess you can say I'm a small fish in a big pond, but I will remain the small fish in a big pond as long as people can hear and understand my voice. My voice is always going to be with the people that are not here because they talk to me, they call me. I listen to the phone. What happened?
Thank you, Ms. LaGrange. That's time.
Huh?
That is your time.
My time was up. I was watching the clock and it was going faster than I was. Not enough time. It's just that they voice their problems to me and I try and address them here. So I guess, forgive me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LaGrange.
Next up, we have Deborah Henrich. Sharon Filan and Fernando Filan are both ceding their time to Ms. Henrich, so please cue the clock for 6 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and trustee members. My name is Deborah Henrich, former benefits manager for CPS Energy. I'm addressing item 6B regarding the June 30th, 2025 meeting minutes. Those minutes implied that I was concerned about changes to my health plan benefits. Actually, the message is regarding all retirees who served this community for 35 or more years and cannot stand before you today. I presented information regarding a certificate signed by our then CEO who assured us in writing that we would have continued benefits under the CPS Energy health plan, not just a plan, as long as we were eligible. More important, these changes are affecting our retirees who are widows, widowers, and single individuals who participated in the plan for 35 years to earn this benefit. The amount they currently pay per month will increase approximately 157% under the proposed plans. This is a hardship on some of our most vulnerable retirees, many of whom had to bring an interpreter for us to complete their retirement process. This includes our laborers and others who were at the lower end of the pay scale. It's difficult to understand why CPS would impose this upon them. The better solution would be to give retirees the choice to either stay with the current plan that we were assured, or to transfer to the new plan that's being offered. For most retirees who did not have 35 years of service, the new plans will be an improved benefit for them, and we applaud that. The key point here is choice. We have been told by CPS management that it's too complicated to offer the current plan to some retirees and the new plans to others. In the 1980s, our in-house programmers designed solutions to the complex retirement formulas and health plan calculations that we currently have. To say that 40 years later the programming cannot be done to handle this is inconceivable. We ask that the CPS Energy Board of Trustees and the Employee Benefits Oversight Committee to allow retirees to choose to remain on the CPS Energy plan or to choose the new plan that's being offered. To do so would align with broader organizational goals and ethical considerations. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Henrich.
Thank you. We now have Freddie Jean Satcher, followed by Don Benitez.
Good morning, thank you, or good afternoon. First, I'd like to applaud Mayor Ortiz for her strength. Congratulations, and I'm glad you're our mayor. There's some questions here that the employees, retired employees over 35 years ask, and they've been probably already asked before, but we're going to ask again. Why the change? Why are we changing this? And why weren't we grandfathered in? We worked here 35 years. They held this certificate in front of us and said, you work here 35 years, you get to keep the same benefits. Why the change? Also, we're concerned about, on the new plan, coverage D, the prescription. They're not going to be as good as what we have now on our current CPS plan. Also, the current contract, it's for 1 year. What's going to happen after 1 year? Are we on our own? Are they going to go out on bid again? Nobody has explained that to us. And then last, what I don't understand is that we were given this certificate by Milton Lee. He was our CEO. He congratulated us for being here for 35 years. He promised a certain amount that we had to pay all those for the rest of our lives. Is Milton Lee or any CEO at CPS good for their word? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Satcher.
Thank you. We now have Dawn Benitez, and Natalie Nickerson is ceding her time to Ms. Benitez, so please queue for 4 minutes.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak again. My name is Patty Benitez, and I have spoken at the last 2 meetings here, so this is my 3rd one. And I'm speaking again because there have been no changes since the last month in the status of CPS dropping our insurance. CPS management spoke generalizations at the retiree meeting earlier this month, but there was nothing in their speeches to change my opinion about the new insurance. In fact, I believe some of the information shared may have been inaccurate. I have 2 points I would like to make. First, I would like to elaborate on an anecdotal statement made early on by CPS management for the reason for this change. The retirees had requested that change. Management gave one example of someone who had requested the change. The person had a spouse and a dependent and most likely did not have 35 years of service. So I'm not surprised that they would want a different insurance plan. In addition to all the retirees who signed the petition to allow for choice, I now have an anecdotal story which seems typical of this rollout for the population. At the retiree meeting, an elderly retiree was asked what they thought of the new insurance. The person replied they were not aware of it and had not attended a session. These were the sessions which announcements had the incorrect dates on some of them and were at many different locations, and some were even just by phone. Maybe this elderly person did know about it and had forgotten. Maybe the person had attended a session, or maybe not. My point is here that many in this group of retirees are very elderly and are unable to make informed decisions. It is sad to see the decline of some of the smartest people and brightest people that CPS had, but it happens. I take care of my 91-year-old mom, and I would hate to see her try to navigate through the confusion this rollout fiasco has had. This population is the most vulnerable of any receiving benefits from CPS. One of the statements at the retiree meeting is that this would be so much easier. With this new insurance, this population will have to navigate paying AMWINs each month instead of having payroll deduction. How is that easier? It is apparent that the individuals working on this insurance rollout have never navigated the Medicare environment and do not have concern for the more elderly. And we still do not know who our insurance provider will be. The second point I want to make is who will hold CPS accountable to ensure the benefits are the best for this group in the future. No one is the answer. CPS has an incentive to maintain a reasonable total compensation package, which includes health benefits for employees. Employees will, in time, leave the organization if the benefits aren't in line with what the market is. By segregating us out of the CPS Trust Benefit Plan and removing us from the CPS employee group, there is zero incentive for CPS to maintain any decent level of support to this vulnerable group of retirees. The support may be here in 2026, but what about 2027 and beyond? Who will hold CPS accountable then? I repeat, no one. Not even the person who is supposed to represent us on the EBOC is under the CPS plan. I again suggest that time be allowed for analysis and allow retirees to have the option to continue with CPS current insurance plans A or B or to change to the new plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benitez.
Our next speaker is Roberta Lott, followed by Alan Montemayor. Oh, okay. Alan Montemayor, followed by Pat Major.
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Montemayor. I'm chair of the Alma Group of the Sierra Club. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I do not take it for granted. And welcome, Mayor Jones. This is my first time speaking to you here. I've seen you other places, though. Couple of things. Thank you for the reliable energy that you provide for San Antonio. It's easy to take it for granted. It's not very common around the world. First, I have 6 items I want to ask you guys for. An update on what's going on with community solar. It seems like this has been dragging on for a long time and we haven't seen any motion in it. I would very much like to see us move forward with that and at least give us an update on where we are in the whole process. I would also like to see an update on where we are in complying with the CAP for the City of San Antonio, the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. I haven't seen much on that from CPS Energy. It's something that is critical for the future of our entire society. I would also like to see an update on the coal situation in San Antonio and some assurances that we're on track to see that happen in a timely fashion and that ERCOT is not getting in the way. I understand you're coming out with a new generation plan. I look forward to that and hope that that's going to include a mix of renewables in there. I'd like to see increased cooperation between SAWS and CPS Energy. Particularly, I would like to see you guys move forward with a large solar array out at the H2 Oaks project. And lastly, I would like to make sure that we have a moratorium on disconnections during this extremely hot time when the most vulnerable people are really suffering. And any kind of disconnections really cause an amazing amount of human difficulty and harm. So I'm hoping that a moratorium is in place, or if it's not, that you will implement that. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Montemayor.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Patricia Major, and her time has been ceded by Roberta Lott and Theodore Solansky, so please allow 6 minutes.
Good afternoon and thank you. I've been here several times before speaking on the subject of the CPS Employee Retiree Health Plan. I have been a 42-year premium paying member to this plan. First, I want to thank the board for your service to the ratepayers and the communities. I know this is a difficult task. Today, I want to speak about agenda items 7B and 8. Many affected retirees, including some not on Medicare until 2026 or after, are fearful and skeptical about CPS's handling of this retiree health plan change. We do not want to be argumentative or adversarial with trustees or management. Retirees simply want accountability for such a major change. It's important to know that key facts and details about the health plan change for retirees are still not public and will not be until late September or October. Also, broad statements being made by CPS executive management and AMWINS, some broad statements are unsubstantiated or incorrect, and trustees may not know this. Retirees have a right to speak during public comments at meetings. Management should not intimidate, be disrespectful, or dismissive, especially in public forums for retirees for exercising this right. Going forward, retirees would like some level of participation with EBOC or possibly the administrative meetings to know more about what's going on that affects them. We do thank you for correcting the June 30th minutes regarding the public comments made about this subject. Now, with respect to items 7B and A, the board committee reports, including the EBOC and audit committee reports, as I had previously stated, are usually just accepted by the chair without discussion, questions, motions, or votes by the trustees. And these reports are accepted by the full board without access to the approved minutes for the committee meetings. For example, the January 13, 25 EBOC report that listed the item of this major design change, the minutes for that meeting were not approved until April 22nd by EBOC. However, these minutes were presented to the Board of Trustees in February. The CEO had a proxy for this. First of all, these minutes indicated that one trustee and the CEO were absent from that meeting. That was not a quorum. The CEO submitted someone a proxy for his attendance at this meeting. Was this appropriate? This meeting only lasted 21 minutes to address 9 important topics. 14 people attended in person. There were 64 online attendees, and no retirees were allowed to hear this presentation about major design plans affecting them. This was truly a short presentation. The minutes showed no discussions or questions. There was not subsequently reviewed with the audit committee, as most items are, which go through multiple committees. Almost 6 months later, today, the full board is getting a presentation on the health plan design changes affecting about 1,400 retirees. Do these practices comply with Texas open meetings and record statutes? Was this a valid quorum to conduct this meeting and business? There doesn't appear to be much analytics that was involved. Item 7, it shows that 7 items on the current EBOC report considered, including the final health plan changes. We will not have access to these meeting minutes until October when EBOC approves them. It shows that no details in the EBOC report today about the new fully insured plan. It makes a statement about 35% average cost savings, but there's no information on this. There's nothing to indicate how much AmWins will be paid for this. On today's slides, there's nothing to indicate that retirees receive a $70 credit per month, those that pay Medicare premiums as part of the health plan. In addition, there's no indication on any of the documentation that retirees over 65 or on Medicare will be required to pay the income-related monthly adjustment charge on Part D Medicare premium under the new arrangement. CPS and AmWins have not put this in writing. To date, management has not provided any survey data to indicate how many retirees were surveyed to give them the information that shows that they wanted an affordable and better aligned plan. Also note that on the 2 small group focus group meetings, slide 7 mentions, these were developed within a week. There was poor planning and less than 20 retirees participated. There's also on these slides something that indicates that 80% of the retirees affected will benefit from the new sponsored plan. How was that determined? How was the 35% reduction in premiums and deductibles determined? Slide 5 shows that robust governance is there to ensure a thorough review. It mentions the final approval through a formal EBOC vote. From the reports and approved minutes available to trustees, the time spent by trustees evaluating staff's material presentations and the health plan recommendations were not sufficient to meet fiduciary obligations. Were trustees also told about a Texas insurance information portal which states that the current self-insured, self-administered employer plan is the least costly when compared to insurance policies? Thank you. And would people here today supporting this please stand? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Major.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Kenneth Anschwitz.
Hi, my name is Kenny Anschwitz. I'm with Utilize. It's my company. We're just starting up here in San Antonio, and what we're working on is solving the gas leak response time and also reducing gas leak calls in general. We're trying to do that in 2 different ways, but I wanted to touch on at least a couple of things that would align with the policy that we're discussing today. And I actually used to work for a vendor that is a vendor of the city and SAWS, Kubra. They do payments and analytics for different utilities across North America. And after learning some of the processes and like being a customer of the utility and the city itself, I realized like some of the newer financial technologies can be used to reduce things such as these NSF fees. So if you've ever paid your utility bill and you didn't have enough money, the utility actually has to pay $20 per transaction. And there's billions in arrears across the nation, especially in San Antonio in general. So just implementing something like being able to read your bank account to see how much you have before processing the payment could save the utility $20 a pop on each of these payments trying to be sent in from like low-income individuals. So I'm surprised it's not already implemented in the first place if the utility is picking up the tab. In addition, technologies like this could be used to automatically figure out how much, let's say, your payment will be for a payment plan for these bills that are in arrears. So essentially figuring out what your income is, how much you'd be able to pay, doing that automatically instead of manually cutting down customer service time, and then of course, risk for the utility. And in addition, this would pretty much make everyone eligible for payment plans. I pretty much only touched on a little bit about it, but yeah, we're also doing analytics and payments solutions that can save money and potentially lives, if you want to look into this.
Thank you, Mr. Anschwitz.
Thank you.
And his handout is in your packet. That's all of our commenters for today.
Thank you. All right, on to my chair's remarks, which will be very brief, and you'll all be happy to hear this is the last time I will talk about this. The Board of Trustees vacancy applications closed this Friday, August 29th. This is the deadline to apply for the upcoming Board of Trustees vacancy for the Northeast Quadrant, Quadrant 2. The selected candidate will fill the seat that is currently held by Mr. John Steen, whose term ends January 31st, 2026. The board will select a trustee by majority vote, and that nominee must then be considered and confirmed by San Antonio City Council. Application is available online or in person, and the application can be submitted online, via email, regular mail, or by hand delivering a hard copy right here to headquarters. Next, already, save the date for Grills Giving, Saturday, November 15th. CPS is heading back to Brooks for the Grills Giving barbecue competition at historic Hangar 9. Join us for this event, which benefits the Residential Energy Assistance Partnership, REAP. Team registration is now open, and those interested can also sponsor this event. Guests will enjoy a friendly festival-like atmosphere, including a competitive barbecue cook-off. Net proceeds benefit the Residential Assistance Partnership Fund. This provides utility assistance to customers and families who are experiencing financial hardship to pay their bill. It's established in 2002, and it's a partnership between CPS Energy, the City of San Antonio, and Bexar County. And finally, today, kind of a bittersweet occasion, Ms. Natalia Lopez, this is her last board meeting with us. She is leaving not just our board relations team, but CPS Energy for an exciting opportunity. And I'm sure the board all joins me in thanking you for your devoted work, and we are going to miss you. Thank you. Mr. Garza.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So before, again, I want to recognize again Natalia Lopez, someone who has been essential to the board's work and to me personally during my time as chairwoman. Natalia stepped into a demanding role that required navigating complexity and change. She did it with professionalism, discretion, and strength. I'll be honest, I feel a sense of responsibility because Natalia supported me through some of the hardest, most transformative moments we face as a board. Change is never easy, and those who help lead it often carry a weight few see. Natalia, you carried the weight with integrity, and I want the public to know how much that mattered. Today, more than ever, we see so much division and question about who belongs where. It means everything to see strong Latinas like you bringing excellence to the voice to the table and voice to the table. It reminds me why we keep working to ensure that everyone has a seat at the table and that leadership reflects the strength and the diversity of our community. We have a community member that comes every board meeting, Henrietta LaGrange, always has, the pride of what it is to be a Latina. And so she reminds me, and you remind me again, thank you for your dedication and for standing with this board during challenging times. You've made a lasting impact, and I wish you the very best as you move forward. So thank you, Natalia.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Garza.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, we're going to start off with our CEO recognition. I'd like to recognize members of our team who planned and executed CPS Energy's first ever financial readiness fair. The team's outstanding collaboration with internal external partners resulted in a successful event featuring a full day of financial workshops, speakers, resources, and experts. Almost 600 employees participated in this event, and I've been working to try to get them recognized for a few months now because this happened earlier in the year. Employees were given the opportunity to learn more about their benefit options, plans for personal and family needs, and identify resources to make overall good financial decisions. This event was a powerful example of how CPS Energy delivers on our commitment to employees and what a team can achieve when we come together with a shared purpose. I also want to recognize our Vice Chair, Dr. Willis Mackey, for not only attending, but for being instrumental in encouraging us to make this event happen. So please join me in thanking this team for their hard work. Our employees benefited greatly from this great day of education. Dr. Mackey, did you want to say something?
You know, I just really wanted to share that, of course, what Mr. Garza said, we appreciate y'all, like we appreciate all the employees of CPS Energy, but especially you all for making these wonderful things happen. So thank you all again for everything.
Thank you.
So today on the agenda, we've got a couple of procurement items on the consent agenda that all board members have been briefed on. Property for our continued resiliency work to make sure our system, we have what we need to expand and grow as the way San Antonio is right now. And of course, an item to help with equipment for our employees, which is always our top priority. The presentations on the agenda today, two are relative to public comment topics that have been frequented this past over the course of this year. A conversation about the health plan update that we heard a lot about in public comment, along with a part two to some conversations about how we're doing everything we can do to help those most vulnerable in our community, along with a follow-up item on a conversation on the procurement policy that we had deferred to allow us to do a little bit more work on. So I'm looking forward to getting through these items. I do want to take one more moment. This past weekend, our trustee, Miss Janie Gonzalez, had a birthday, so I want to wish Janie a very happy birthday. I hope you had a great day. And then finally, my wife and I are the community campaign co-chairs for the United Way campaign this year. It's a $47 million endeavor, very important to the community and all the need that we have. We're very honored to be asked to lead on behalf of CPS Energy, the United Way campaign. So anything you all can do as we get going with our own CPS Energy, United Way campaign, I would appreciate any support that the board could give in this cause. And with that, Madam Chair, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you recommend we give?
As much as you can, sir. We'll get with you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we are on item 6, consent agenda. If anybody wants to think about anything they want to pull from this, Ms. Ramirez, I do have a question for you. If I want to offer a small change to the minutes from the June 30th meeting, would you prefer I pull that from the consent agenda, or can I make that minor change?
If it's a minor change, I would just ask that you request the minor change, and then when we move, we'll consider the motion to move to approve with the change.
Okay, well, I did want to bring this up for the minutes. Ms. Henrik asked us to correct something, and I think that's fair. I don't think we understood this before, but I would suggest that so the minutes from the June 30th meeting, in section 3, public comment, when we talk about Ms. Henrik's, actually her name is misspelled here, Ms. Henrik's comments, instead of saying express concern that the proposed retiree health insurance plan would alter her benefits she was promised upon retirement, to just say the proposed retiree health insurance plan would alter retiree benefits.
Yes, ma'am?
So that is my suggestion, but now I will turn to the trustees and see, does anybody want to pull anything from consent?
Madam Chair, I request that approval of both the minutes, and that is of the June 30th, 2025 regular board meeting, as well as the minutes of the July 28th, 2025 regular board meeting be pulled from the consent agenda. And that's agenda items 6B and C.
All right. Anybody else? I would agree. They're pulled. Do we have a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda, please?
Yes, I move that we approve the East Side Switching Station land acquisition and the general services, medium and heavy-duty vehicles.
Yeah, and I'll second that.
Did you
Hold
want
on
to
just a
include
moment.
item A in there as well? Did you want to include item A? Okay, so this is for 6A, D, and E, correct?
That's what I have.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Mackey? Yes. Trustee Steen? Yes. Mayor? Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so then for item 6B, I will just say my same corrections that I would like to make and open it up for anybody else who has anything to say on the June 30th minutes. We'll start with Mr. Steen.
So I continue to be concerned with our board meeting minutes. While has been pointed out, they might be legally sufficient. The minutes might also be described as perfunctory. They duly note the positive, upbeat assertions of management, but infrequently memorialize the questions, comments, and concerns of trustees. Typically, after each presentation is summarized, a standard sentence is plugged in, such as, quote, the Board of Trustees asked questions, discussed the presentation, and requested additional information. Such minutes leave out an important part of the meeting, which is the back and forth between trustees and management. Here's just one example pertaining to the June 30th, 2025 minutes. Management continues to paint the rosiest possible picture of our accounts receivable, with our CEO at the June 30th meeting extolling the, quote, phenomenal progress, close quote, being made, and the words great progress appearing in the minutes. So such talking up is something to be expected, and it's fine for management to do this. However, on June 30th, we also had an extensive discussion about Mr. Kaczynski's slide 7, which documents that over the past 5 or so fiscal years, there's been no significant improvement in the percentage of our customers who are past due on their accounts. It's been consistently around 20%, meaning that 1 in 5 of our customers struggles to pay his or her CPS Energy bill. I believe this type of exchange between trustees and management needs to be captured and memorialized in the minutes. It's notable that almost without exception, the preparer includes in the minutes the essence of what our public comment speakers have to say on agendized topics, but fails to do the same when trustees speak out. And is there a way we could put up slide 1 of 6 of the minutes?
No.
There should be. All right, so if you looked at those minutes, you'd see that, for example, Ms. LaGrange, Henrietta LaGrange that spoke earlier, there's a pretty good detail of what she said during her remarks. I would also, if you all could have done it, put up slide 2 of 6, and we can see that same detail is provided for the remarks of Patty Benitez, Deborah Heinrich, and Patricia Major. You get the idea. I guess what I'm asking is that trustees be accorded the same measure of regard and respect as our valued citizens to be heard. And one final point, and again, I would have asked to put up the minutes, and I don't know why we can't. In regard to the language used when a public board convenes after an executive session, it's standard procedure for counsel to say, as well as affirm in the minutes, that, quote, no votes were taken, close quote. I note that in both these sets of minutes, this affirmative statement, which confirms compliance with the law, is omitted. Now, on rare and exceptional occasions, with the specific advice, approval, and guidance of council, votes can be taken in executive session. That'll surprise some people. If this is the case, I believe this should be memorialized in the minutes of our open meeting, including the authority pursuant to which the board has acted. I stress that I'm not talking about disclosing the particulars, but only the fact that a vote was taken behind closed doors. This is all by way of explaining that I intend to vote against approving the minutes of our June 30th and July 28th board meetings. And in closing, I'd like my comments on this matter to be included in full in the minutes of today's meeting, and I respectfully ask our General Counsel, Shannon Ramirez, to do so. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steen, and we will assume that your comments are intended to apply to both items 6B and C.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I will certainly take some of this into consideration as we move forward, but for now, we need a motion which could be on 6B and C with the small changes I made, or if you want to do one at a time.
Can I ask a question? May I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Steen, did you insinuate that we did something wrong? I'm just trying to figure it out.
Well, Dr. Mackey, I choose my words very carefully, and I'm not doing that.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
Chair, can you repeat the action you're requesting? Sorry.
Yeah, we need a motion on, we can do 6B and C together.
Okay. Motion.
I would prefer, oh, go ahead, individually.
Oh, okay.
Well,
You want to do B and I'll do C?
it's up to you.
Well, I'll do both. I don't care. Okay. A motion that we approve the minutes from the June regular board meeting held on June 30th, 2025, and C, the minutes from the July regular board meeting held on July 28th, 2025.
I second that. Any more discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Mackey?
Yes.
Trustee Steen?
No.
Mayor? Trustee Gonzalez?
No.
Chair?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, we are on item 7 of our regular agenda now, which is board committee reports. In your packets, you have the reports from the Audit and Finance Committee, the Employee Benefits Oversight Committee meeting, and the Community Input Committee. Is there any discussion on those reports?
Yes, I have a question, Chair. You chair the EBOC committee?
I do not.
Who chairs the EBOC committee?
So the EBOC committee is made up of our Audit and Finance Committee members, and then I sit on the EBOC committee, and Corey sits on
Who's
the
on the
EBOC
Audit and
committee.
Finance Committee?
I believe it's the chair and the vice chair, so,
Who's the chair of it?
yeah, Dr. Meadow.
I'm sorry, that one got me confused because there's other people on it. Yes, I am the chair, you're the vice chair.
I'm the vice chair.
Yes, sir.
Has it been an EBOC committee that I've missed? Because I just heard, I missed a meeting?
Yeah, we can't hold a meeting without a quorum,
That's what
so.
I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I just
No,
want to make sure.
it was the July 14th meeting.
I was there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Both of us were there, right?
We were both there.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm just trying to figure it out.
yes.
All
It
right,
was-
thank you.
It was a long meeting, too.
Yeah.
It was the two together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we on item 8?
No, we're on item 7, where we are
Okay.
just discussing the committee reports, and if anybody has any questions. But there is no vote on this item.
No.
All right, then we will move on to item 8, the 2026 health plan update. And Ms. Uriegas is presenting this for us, but as she's coming up, I wanted to echo what the CEO said. We've obviously had a lot of comments on this for a long time. It's difficult for us here, when we hear comments, we know people are here and they want answers, but until something is on our agenda, we cannot just respond to what people are saying. But I can assure you that behind the scenes, we have all been asking questions. We have all wanted reassurance. We have been concerned about what we've been hearing. I also want to clarify that per our governance documents, this is not an item that the entire board votes on. This was reviewed with the EBOT committee when we met on July 14th. But we did ask that this be presented today so that we can have a discussion on it. And, I've written down all the questions that some of the citizens had. If there's any way you can respond to those, but if not, I will ask you to respond to some of those. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Now? Okay. It's kind of loud. So good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to present today. Today I will be talking about the 2026 Health Plan Update. This will be our agenda that we will be discussing today, and the objective of today's meeting, or for today's presentation, is to inform the full board of the implementation of a company-sponsored Medicare Supplement Health Plan for 2026. So I want to start off by just giving a little bit of background on the CPS Energy Health Plan. The CPS Energy Health Plan is funded through a combination of employee, and retiree contributions, and the CPS Energy Health Trust on behalf of the retirees. The CPS Energy Health Trust is an irrevocable trust and can only be used for the benefit of our plan participants. Our retirees with qualifying service are eligible for post-retirement benefits. And for 2026, CPS Energy is proposing to sponsor a new second plan designed specifically for our Medicare eligible plan participants. So what drove our recommendations? CPS Energy's group health plan is designed to be primary coverage for those who are Medicare. Our plan pays very little, as Medicare is primary and CPS Energy is secondary. And our plan is not structured to coordinate with Medicare very well at this point in time. We've had an opportunity to hear feedback from numerous retirees. Our employee benefits team goes quarterly to our retiree association meetings, and there we talk to anywhere from 400 to 700 retirees. And it's at these meetings that we hear quite consistently from a lot of our retirees to ask, can we do anything to provide additional plans, something that coordinates more with Medicare, something that's a little more reasonable for them. So in response to those suggestions, we added a new plan for Medicare eligible retirees that will be very comparable to our current group health plan that we offer today, deductibles, out-of-pocket maximum, things of that nature. We, as we have had the opportunity to talk to our retirees over the last few months with regards to these plans, we have received more favorable feedback from our retirees, through people coming up to us at some of the meetings that we've had, again, at the Retiree Association meetings, and our retirees seem to be very pleased with, the majority of the retirees seem to be very pleased with these particular plan offerings that we will be working through. We have a very robust governance
Veronica,
process.
hold on.
Yes, sir.
Before you go on, go back to that last slide. You mentioned the recommendation that comes from our HR team, our people and culture team, through the administrative committee. Can you talk a little bit more about the process for arriving at that recommendation?
Yes, sir. So I think if we can go through here, we'll talk about the governance and how it goes through and what we do to get to that plan all the way through, if that's okay. And you tell me if I've answered that at that point. So again, our governance process, when we look at our plans and our premium changes on an annual basis, we go through a series of processes that take us all the way through on how this gets brought to administrative committee and how this gets brought to EBOC. We work with our consultants on an annual basis, and so we take a look at our claims and we analyze those on an annual basis. And this tells us whether or not, or what type of premium changes we should be recommending, or plan changes that we should be recommending. Our consultants will also help us review our plan designs to make sure we're remaining competitive within the market. Once we determine premium changes or plan changes, we present our recommendations to the administrative committee. And this goes to them for their consideration. Administrative committee reviews our recommended changes. Of course, the administrative committee has a fiduciary duty to manage the trust assets prudently. And once they look at once they thoroughly review our recommendations, then they'll let us know that yes, they will give us a vote, and then from there we'll take it to the EBOC, the Employee Benefits Oversight Committee, for review and approval, which we did with this particular plan. And this is, of course, in accordance with our statement of governance that we work with. Rudy, did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I really just wanted to make sure you hit on the point that there's analysis that goes on behind the scenes that allows us to maintain, a competitive benefit.
Yes, sir.
That's the goal, is, to ensure their benefits there, to protect the pension fund, to protect the benefits fund. All of that goes into these decisions.
Yes, sir. And that's all the analysis that we review on an annual basis with these particular plans. So as we design these particular plans, we work to create a new plan that closely replicates our current CPS Energy group health plan. And we ended up with a plan that's going to provide our retirees several more benefits than what they receive today, right? For example, these particular benefits will be covering 100% hospital coverage, 100% skilled nursing facility coverage, 100% home health care benefits, gym memberships, which is something that numerous retirees have been asking for, and so we've received some very positive feedback on that as well. There's no network limitation for these particular plans that we're going through. Right now, we have an in and out of network. As long as the hospitals or providers accept Medicare, our retirees will be able to utilize those particular services. Again, as in life, nothing is perfect. You did hear today about, the premiums not being deducted out of their pension checks anymore, and that is correct. They will not be deducted out of their pension checks. However, our retirees will be able to sign up for automatic deduction from their account. So it's just as you do today for your cell phone bill to be deducted out of your account, or your streaming service to be able to be deducted. They'll be able to have that benefit as far as those options as far as how they want their premiums to be deducted out of their check. And so that's something that will be a little bit different. But once they sign up for it, it'll be automatically coming out of their checks again. The other thing we've heard is hearing aids. Hearing aids are covered currently. They will not be covered with this new plan. However, we do offer a discount that will be offered with the new plan from a hearing aid perspective. And we are looking to see if there's anything more that we can offer, or what we can do to kind of help through from a hearing aid perspective. Most importantly, again, we just want to communicate that our CPS Energy Health Trust is irrevocable. Again, it remains in place for the sole purpose of supporting the health benefits of CPS Energy retirees. This particular slide is really showing our implementation timeline by quarter. So as soon as we knew we were going to be moving forward with these particular plans, we started our communication as soon as we possibly could. We sent letters out to all of our retirees, letting them know this is what was going to be happening. We had focus group with some retirees. We had in-person meetings, and we had telephonic presentations. Through the telephonic presentations as well as the in-person meetings, we touched approximately 700 retirees. They either attended the telephonic sessions or they attended the in-person sessions. We also have placed another dial-in phone session on September the 4th, and we're going to have two, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And that's for those retirees who may have missed the in-person one, or may have missed the prior telephone sessions. And so we will have one more, and then we will begin our open enrollment process very soon thereafter. We will be sending out open enrollment packets to all of our Medicare-eligible retirees. We'll be talking through them on open enrollment sessions. We'll have in-person open enrollment sessions. We'll be going out to the park the way we did for our pre-65. We'll have other sessions for our Medicare-eligible. And so we're working through all the communication that will continue to be coming through for these particular plans for our retirees in the near future. So we continue to take feedback and refine our plans where possible. All changes have followed the governance, process, and legal requirements for our CPS Energy Health Trust. This new plan is an employer-sponsored plan, just like our self-insured group health plan is. This is not a publicly available plan. We did work to ensure our plans are very similar, and in some instances, coverage that's being offered to our retirees is even better in my eyes. As with our other health, our other health plans, CPS Energy reserves the right to make changes as needed to our plans. The value comes from transitioning our entire population over to the Medicare, over to these particular supplement plans. And as we do with all of our benefits, we'll be reviewing these, changes, and we'll be reviewing the services provided to our retirees, and we'll be making any changes as needed in the future. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Uriegas. If y'all don't mind, I'm going to start with some comments and questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is not an easy issue, and it's really complex. There's some facts here, and one of the facts is that we are hearing from a group of people who have concerns and questions and are unhappy. There are a lot of people who are not coming who have been very happy with the changes. I went to one of the sessions, I spoke to people at random, and there are people who are very satisfied with this. So I just want to be clear about that. That is there in the background. We discussed this at the last EBOC, which I do in fact chair. And Dr. Mackey and I asked a lot of questions about this. We were in there for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
I was frankly surprised at how strong a lot of the benefits are in here. I'm happy to hear you say that you're going to look into the hearing aid issue, and I would like us to get updated at that, certainly at the next EBOC meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
But just to try and reflect back to you some of the questions that were asked by the people here today. And I know that the issue here is for people, as I understand it, is for retirees who worked here more than 35 years. And they're the ones who are having some of the issues. So as it's presented, it just seems like for them, this new plan is more expensive and not as good. So can you address that, please?
Yes, I don't know that for, for some, yes, it may be a little more expensive. And as we looked at the analysis of that, and so I think it was Patty or somebody brought up, it was 157% higher. That 157% equates out to, from when we looked at it, probably about maybe $30 to $35 more a month. Our retirees are, the plans that they receive and the premiums that they pay are very good. I will definitely say that, but I don't believe that the increases that we are providing with these new plans, and they're getting 3 different options that they can choose from, right? Basically a base, a plus, and a premium plan. I think they're still very comparable with, a $30 to $35 increase when our retiree or when our active employees will probably be seeing just as much from an active participation from an increase perspective.
All right, and then 2 more specific questions that I heard. One was saying that they don't know what will happen after 1 year, and that they don't know who the insurance provider will be.
Yes, ma'am. So I don't know where the 1 year came from, but we are looking at maybe a 3 to 5 year, and I have to go back in and look to see exactly what we're signed, but it's not a 1 year that I'm aware of. And I'm sorry, what was the other question? There was one, and then the second was?
About that they do not know who their insurance provider will be.
So we will know that soon. We are working with our legal department, and right now, between the carriers who are being chosen, that's going back and forth from a legal perspective, which is with the contracts and finalizing that. And I would say probably within the next week, I'm hoping 2 weeks at the most, we should have all that finalized.
Okay, thank you. And then just the last question, Ms. Benitez asked who will hold CPS accountable. We will hold CPS accountable, especially in the EBOC meetings, in the committees. We will hold them accountable for this. So I will open it up for questions. Vice Chair?
Yes. Did we, I saw one of the ladies showed us a letter from the CEO at the time, Milton Lee.
Yes, sir.
Saying that their rates would stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever did we have that on record or to review that? Can you explain that to me a little bit?
Yes. If we don't have one, I can get you a copy of it. We've worked with our legal department, and what we have looked at and what we've seen is just the way we are interpreting this is that changes can be made to the plan. We make changes to our plans every single year, from plan changes, from deductibles to out-of-pockets different changes here or there that we may need to do, premium changes that are done on an annual basis. So changes are made every single year almost to our plans.
Okay, I understand that. But have we ever thought about honoring that for the retirees that met that? I mean, you know, I just want to say that being a retiree and turning 65 is trauma. Trying to get your regular insurance and change it over. I did mine back in March. I've missed paychecks. I had no benefits to August the 3rd since then. I've been fighting with them for 3 or 4 months. So I can understand and relate to what they're going through. When you turn 65, you all gonna see, it's chaos. It's major. I've just experienced it. I just got insurance August the 3rd. After all this time, I've been without insurance and didn't even know it. I've been paying for my medicine and no insurance. Wow. So I feel for this. But to go back to that, if we could get with the legal and look at how do we honor that piece right there and how much it would cost us, I would appreciate that.
Madam Chair, just to be very clear, the changes that we are making to our plan fully honor the certificate in question. I agree that the retirees may read the obligations differently than I do, but what we are doing right now fully honors the promises made to our retirees. I disagree with the representation that what was promised was a policy and benefits that never changed either in content, nature, or cost. That simply wasn't a promise that was made. So I hear the ask and we'll go back, but I didn't want anyone to suggest that we think we are not honoring it.
So, Ms. Uriagas, did you want to go first? Okay. Thanks for your presentation today and the commendable work that you do on behalf of CPS Energy. And I noticed, I hope I got this right, the letter's PHR after your name?
PHR.
Which indicates you're certified as a professional of human resources.
Yes, sir.
And PHR certification means that you've successfully demonstrated your knowledge of HR management and applicable U.S. laws and regulations. And so we appreciate being able to draw upon your expertise in this area.
Thank you.
And I'll begin with a word about our retirees. And I want you all to know we esteem them more than I can say for all their years of steadfast service. They dedicated the best years of their working lives to this company and to this community. And our CEO often speaks of the CPS Energy family, and these over 65 retirees are cherished members of our family. Okay, to reiterate, the CPS Energy Health Plan covers about 1,900 retirees.
Yes, sir.
3/4 or 75% of these retirees are over 65 years of age, and that's the group of 1,400 impacted by this CPS-sponsored 2026 Medicare supplement plan for eligible retirees. And interrupt me if I say anything that's incorrect. So far, so good. Okay. That said, please put up slide 2 entitled Agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's me. Yes, sir.
And looking at the sentence in the blue rectangle at the bottom, your stated objective this afternoon is to inform for the first time the full board of the implementation of this Medicare supplement health plan for 2026. So to be clear, we're not considering it today. It's already been decided upon.
Yes, sir. It's already been voted on.
Okay. Then please put up slide 7 entitled Medicare Supplement Plan Implementation Rollout. Now, at first glance, this looks like a vigorous communication plan with lots of opportunities for the 1,400 retirees affected to attend sessions and interact with CPS management. However, on closer examination, it appears that there's been little or no opportunity for those impacted to have input on the plan. Following the timeline from the top, the unnamed Medicare administration consultant was selected last January, and then by the end of the next month, February, you're notifying the affected retirees by letter about the changes. The remainder of the details seem to be information sessions where you're affording retirees the opportunity to ask questions about a plan that's already been decided upon. And so I don't see much, if any, opportunity for input, but perhaps I'm missing something. And let me finish, and then you can.
Oh, sure.
So please put up slide 4, entitled, What Drove Our Recommendation Aligning Supplement Coverage to Medicare Services? And I'm focused on that blue rectangle at the bottom of the page, and it reads, more than 80% of our Medicare-eligible plan participants will receive comparable plan benefits, with premiums and deductibles reduced about 35% as compared to the CPS Energy Group Health Plan. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume that the fine people who lately have been addressing this board during the public comment portion of our meetings fall in the remaining 20%. And they are somehow being adversely affected by this plan. And I'm just about through, and then you can. So when I reflect on what Patty Benitez and Deborah Heinrich and Patricia Major and Mary Johnson and Isabel Hernandez and Michael Gilbert have told us from the podium, here are the main issues. First, lack of retiree input. And I think they have a valid point there. Second, a related issue, their complaint about lack of transparency. Perhaps there's a good reason for this, but no one has told me why CPS management shouldn't be more transparent. Third is the rushed nature of this project, of this process. Perhaps management has a sound reason for its somewhat hurried effort to implement this new plan. If so, I'd like to hear it. Fourth, these ladies and gentlemen have complained about how this new regime is being imposed on them with no opportunity to choose from options. And this seems to be a valid concern, and I'd like clarification from management as to why this can't be done. And Ms. Urias, I'll conclude by respectfully asking you to answer a couple of questions as succinctly and with as much transparency as you can muster. Why have you and your colleagues implemented this 2026 Medicare supplement plan for eligible retirees? So just a simple question, why? And then if it's mainly for financial reasons, why haven't you spelled them out in your presentation today? Why was this plan implemented with little or no input from our affected retirees? And finally, why the rush? So respectfully, your response.
Yes, sir. We implemented this particular plan as we reviewed our claims and as we reviewed the, let me take a step back. Our claims and insurance is just skyrocketing, regardless of which way you look at it, right? And I think that's not just with CPS Energy, I think that's across the board. I think, we are probably one of the few still in San Antonio who offer retiree benefits. And frankly, I'd like to continue to be able to offer retiree benefits. I think when we look at it, the amount that it was going to cost us if we kept our Medicare eligible employees on our plan, number one, the pharmacy cost is very high. That was going to cost the plan a lot of money. Plus, we're looking out for our retirees to be able to get them more of a plan that's going to be able to be in alignment and work with Medicare. Right now, again, CPS plays very little. The claims run through Medicare, and once they run through Medicare and they come back to CPS, our retirees still have to meet our deductibles before we start paying. CPS pays the 20% that's left from a 80-20 standpoint. And so we're trying to get it to where our retirees have more options and their plans are better alignment with Medicare. You said little to no input, and why the rush? Sir, we only have a certain amount of time in order in which to implement plans, right? It goes from year to year. And within that, there's a lot of work that needs to get done, a lot of communication, a lot of configuration, a lot of communication, all sorts of things that have to happen. We started off with small focus groups to see, where we stood and where we're at. Plus, again, we attend the Retiree Association meetings, and not just those, but we receive phone calls on the daily from retirees that ask for better plans, better premiums. Our surviving spouses are paying very high premiums at this point in time, and with these particular plans, this helps them be able to take some of those funds that they're paying towards premiums and have it be a little more they're able to afford it. They're able to afford
Veronica,
the plans.
explain the scale of what you're talking about there.
So
They're
our
going from
surviving,
what to what?
our surviving spouses right now will pay approximately 102% of our benefit costs. So we can have retirees paying anywhere from $600 on up to $1,200 to $1,400, depending on where their spouse was and what the premiums are there. They're going to go now to paying our lowest plan, the 3 options that we're going to be offering. The lowest plan there from a cost perspective is going to be $85. So that's a big savings for many of our retirees, I think, for a month, yes, sir. So, so they're going to pay from anywhere from, again, $600 on up to more likely $1,000-ish or so to $85. We've had several of our surviving spouses come up to us literally and jumping for joy, almost in tears, saying, thank you, this is something that we'll be able to live off of on a better pace. We'll be able to utilize our monies. We have many of our retirees who are paying quite a bit of monies for their premiums right now for their plans. And again, the cost that they're going to be paying from a premium perspective, I think is very, very reasonable. And if there's any increase, I think when we looked at the analysis, there was more people who were going to be saving that there were going to be costs, right, for these particular plans. And so, again, all those things need to be taken into account from a communication standpoint, from a configuration standpoint, from a, if we're working with Amwins as our broker to be able to help us find the plans for our retirees and working through the vendor contracts. I think we've chosen a very good program for them. Our retirees are going to have a dedicated 800 line that they're going to be able to call. So Dr. Mackey, to your point, being able to maneuver through those particular questions in Medicare, these individuals are Medicare experts, and they're going to be able to walk them through step-by-step questions on their prescriptions, questions on their medical benefits. And so they came down on some of these in-person sessions that we had. Amwins brought probably about 4 or 5 of their cost center individuals, and they had them spread out, and our retirees were able to go ask all sorts of questions to them. And so they got some good feedback. They received some good feedback and some good knowledge on how these particular plans were going to be working. And so it takes time, sir. It's not something that we can do at the flip of a switch. No, you're fine.
Apologies for interrupting, but I'm Deborah Wayne-Scott, Chair of the Administrative Committee. So I did want to just make a couple of other points. Veronica, amazing job on answering those questions. I do want to let you know one of the things the Administrative Committee looked at is our retirees were overinsured with a plan that was designed for our active employee population. So this really does modernize the benefits for those retirees that are Medicare eligible. And when you look at the call-out box on this slide, it is every single retiree will benefit from a plan design perspective. Deductibles are significantly lower than with our active employee plan, and the out-of-pocket maximums are lower. So overall, I believe that every single retiree will benefit from the change to this plan. They won't benefit from a premium perspective necessarily, some of those, the 20% of them, but overall, the benefit is a richer benefit, a better benefit for all of our retirees from when you look at the overall plan design.
Thanks, Deborah. Thank you. Appreciate it. And you really have to look at that holistically, right? So the way Deborah was talking about that plan, you have to look at that plan holistically, not just the premiums in which they're paying, but everything else that goes into that. So again, the out-of-pockets, the deductibles, things of that nature, all that has to go into account.
Just one more question. So the 20% that are adversely affected, we've heard from them saying, why aren't we given the opportunity to not participate? And what's the answer to that? Is there something relating to a law? I mean, what's the reason?
Related to a law. It's not related to a law. It makes more sense for us to be able to take all of our retirees and send them over to this particular plan. We get more of the retirees as they all transition over to this. It's a bigger risk pool, so it's a bigger pool that they will have to be able to look at and be able to assess those claims on an annual basis to be able to determine, will premiums go up anymore? What other changes do we need to make? And it makes more sense to be able to move everybody over versus picking and choosing one-offs.
It's the efficiency of managing one plan for retirees.
Yes.
I mean, I was at the retiree meeting, a week or two ago, or whenever it was. 700 people there is probably the best attended retiree meeting I've been to in my 4 years now as CEO. And I got 2 questions at the end of the day, or maybe 3. One, I visited with Ms. Majors. The hearing issue, which we're looking into, and, just a general irritability about the payroll deduction. I mean, it's like setting up an online bill payment as opposed to a deduction. It's an irritation, but I am sure we will sit down with whatever retiree needs help and help them through that. So outside of those couple of issues and the small population of retirees who've been showing up to these meetings, generally, I got a lot of credit, on the work that we've done on this, Mr. Steen. So, I think it's unreasonable to expect us to maintain multiple plans for different segments of retirees. I want to, a retiree to me, whether you're 20 years or 50 years, service, or, we've promised benefits. We've promised to maintain coverage. What that coverage looks like has to change year over year if we're going to maintain a healthy, fund balance in our benefits plan. And so from an efficiency standpoint, I don't think it's reasonable to ask my team to maintain multiple plans. So that's the reason.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez?
And actually, I want Deborah to address the questions. And first of all, thank you very much, Patricia. It's interesting that, Veronica, I'm sorry, Veronica. It was nice to see you present, Veronica, for a change. But the person who presented to me when I was chairwoman was actually Deborah. So I want to make sure that Deborah answers this. And again, I just want to make sure I understand. So here are the facts. Premium increases mitigated by 9.83% from 11.2. Medicare supplement adds 35% savings for most retirees, and then the health trust funded at 89%. So here's my comment, and then I'll go into my question. First, I understand the reality of rising costs. I'm an employer myself, and it's not very easy, and many of the analysis that you just described, we all do. Obviously, you have more resources, but we all do it. I will say, though, as someone who chaired the committee, I have to say that I am concerned. I don't believe it was ever disclosed that there was a letter that was given to retirees. I never saw it, and if I did, I skimmed through it. I know that oftentimes we go through these meetings and we're loaded with information, and so I would agree. I accept responsibility. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel good about what under my radar, what I actually approved. I'll be honest with you, Deborah. I don't believe that the information that I received was that transparent. However, I do agree that it is complex and that oftentimes we have to make tough decisions, and it's really hard to please everyone. I will agree wholeheartedly with that. But I do agree that the process, at least under my radar, was not as transparent. If I would have probably questioned more or asked for more focus groups had I known there was a letter that was out there. To this day, I've never seen that letter. And if I did, I skipped it.
Trustee Gonzalez, if I may,
I'm not finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not finished.
I apologize.
It's okay. So many have felt a lack of response, a sense that past commitments were not honored, and the frustration with leadership wasn't present at key decisions, and I will own that, and I apologize. I do believe that I failed as a chair and as a trustee. I didn't ask enough questions. These are real perceptions that matter to me as a trustee. I want to thank everybody who's been showing up. And again, my perspective is I felt, again, that the presentation, at least to me, was not as transparent, as clear-framed as it should have been, and I'm not quite sure if I would have been so quick to have supported it. So here's my question. How do these plans truly balance affordability with long-term sustainability of the health trust? And what steps will be taken in the future where our communication, even though I've seen our process, will be proactive and more transparent that will restore confidence for those who will continue or gave decades of service?
First, let me say, if we had a lack of transparency, and apparently we did from your perspective, so I apologize. I take responsibility for that as chair of the administrative committee. I will say that the the letter that is being described, the certificate of coverage, it does go on to say, we're providing you with benefits that, and continuing to provide you with benefits through your retirement. But it does go on to say that that is subject to changes in plan design and premium, as we always do, as we have to do to keep the plan sustainable and affordable for our retirees as well as for the company, so that we can continue to offer those benefits to our retirees in the future. So, that certificate was an acknowledgement that we are offering retiree benefits, health benefits. And then as far as my commitment, you have my 100% commitment that we will do everything we can to expand our communications overall to retirees. I think setting the process in place of having multiple forums this year, we will continue to look at how we can expand that, so we make sure we're keeping our retirees informed and bringing them along as we look at this, as we do every year. Since I've been in People and Culture since 2015, since up until March of 2024, and as chair of the committee since 2021, we have looked every year. We've done that robust analysis every year to make sure that we are continuing to mitigate cost increases, of the challenge of rising healthcare costs that continue to that we're continue to be confronted with, and making sure that we can have a plan that's sustainable for our retirees. We do that robust analysis every year.
And the only thing I would like to add, there's a lot of things I echo that Mr. Steen said. And the last thing is I don't believe our process for governance is robust. I went back and I looked, and I again feel very responsible for where we're at today. I do believe there's an opportunity to improve that governance process. Oftentimes, we have a meeting and it's a vote. I do believe I would like in the future for anybody who's chairing that committee that we have more lead time and get more information in smaller bites than just to go into a meeting and hear it. And again, I get to hear from many of you, and this is not a lack of confidence in who you are as individuals. Y'all are obviously skilled individuals, and I don't disagree with the analysis portion, but I will say there is improvement. I don't believe it's a robust governance process, and I will stick to that.
Well, I appreciate that feedback, Trustee Gonzalez, and we will definitely work to improve that.
Mayor?
Can I get your thoughts on, and frankly, as my mom is in this group as well, I can empathize with the difficulty of Medicare navigating this very complex system and process. Just to help us understand, though, I mean, I can, again, appreciate when folks show up to these meetings several times. I'd like to understand what they are experiencing. So if the 6 or 5 folks here would be so kind as to, no kidding, help us understand what this looks like in your daily life, what that cost looks, the cost looks like, different each month. That'd be helpful for us to get some sense of it. Because again, I can understand, look, with a bigger risk pool, the cost is lower. I get it. But for 20% of the folks, that's 280 people that are in that higher age group that are more reliant on this care and this coverage. And so to feel like or in reality not be getting the coverage that they were once expecting, we should better understand, no kidding, what that looks like. So however you'd like to provide that. What was the process? Was there an in-depth analysis to understand what the cost would be to grandfather in these 280 some odd folks, understanding that their care would not be comparable to what they had under the previous plan?
We did look at some analysis to see what that would look like. I don't have the numbers exactly with me, not in this particular presentation, but so I want to make sure I understand what you're asking. So for these individuals who have been showing up to, you'd like to see where the cost for their particular plans.
Exactly right, Ms. Benitez. What is Ms. Benitez exactly talking about every month? What did she look at the month before the plan changed, and what is she looking at after the plan changed? And whoever else wants to share it, again, we just need to understand what folks are experiencing to the extent they're willing to share. And then what was the level of analysis to help determine that it would not be appropriate to just grandfather in 280 folks. I'm also cognizant of the impact of the potential impact of the reconciliation bill, right, which is going to cut the Medicare benefits again. So how can whatever analysis that you all have done to help us understand what that might look like again in these folks' lives is going to be helpful, as well as the others, right?
Okay. We can get that for you. We have that information. We'll get that.
Just a reminder, they would have to consent to us releasing their.
Yes, of course. That's my assumption. Yes, thanks.
I do want to add one more thing regarding that. The plan is for Medicare eligible retirees anyway. They are required to have Medicare coverage with our current plan design. So any impact to Medicare would happen under the current plan or the future, the new plan.
Understood, but I think, again, we can't forget that it's actually impacting people's lives. So just as we are thinking about what those are going to look like, how can we understand the significance of the difference? Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to go over this one more time, too, because it's just the way the structure of this is. It comes to EBOC. We did get a lot of information in our EBOC meeting. We tore this apart and asked questions about every single piece of this. It's my recollection of this that some of the people who are here today, as a result of this change, would have the increased premiums. At the same time, there are differences in deductibles, choice. So can you just go over that again?
Yeah, again, I don't have our current deductibles or out-of-pockets off the top of my head. I don't have my booklet with me, but I know the new deductible moving forward would be like $257, right? So compared to what they're paying now. So again, it's when you look at it holistically and you look at what they're paying today from a premium perspective, what they're going to be paying tomorrow from a premium perspective if we keep them on our plans, plus our deductibles, plus our out-of-pockets, compared to what they're going to be paying in the future for these particular plans. Thank you. Thank you. So currently, thank you, Shanna. So currently, our medical deductibles, if you're on Plan A, is $1,600. For B, it's $850. Moving forward, they'll be paying a $257 deductible, right? For these particular plans. Out-of-pocket maximums, anywhere from, $5,100 to $5,600. And the most they'll be paying on some of the prior plans, again, depending on which plan they choose, the base, the plus, or the premium, can pay anywhere from $2,600 to $4,600. So significant difference, and also to include all the additional benefits that they're going to be receiving within these plans that they're not receiving today. Makes a huge difference. And again, that's what we've been hearing from the majority of the retirees is this is great. This is what we've been needing. This is music to our ears as we're reaching the age and the need for these particular benefits. We're going to now be receiving that where it's better alignment with Medicare.
Okay, thank you. So, I think what the mayor is asking for makes sense. It also gets at what people have been talking about with getting more direct input from people who are affected by this. So I would like to ask two things as chair of EBOC, that at our next meeting, at least for EBOC, and then we can bring it here as well. One, that if we just have an agenda item reviewing that certificate from CEO Lee, so that we can, because we haven't seen it, so we can get a briefing on that. And then if we could also just go over this about, I think we all respect the efficiency argument, but what would the world look like if this group of people had the choice? In terms of from CPS perspective, in terms of from their perspective. And I think that gets at the information the mayor asked for as well.
Okay. I can do that. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you on this. Thank you to the retirees for keeping us honest here and coming and seeing us all the time. I hope you understand, again, like I said before, we are here to keep CPS accountable on this, and we will keep up the conversation. when we ended that EBOC meeting, the last question I asked was, is this the final word? And you all said no. And so, again, I really appreciate the hearing aid issue. I think it was Mr. Gilbert who came and spoke about that, and you listened to that, and you're doing something about it because that's important. So we will continue to pay attention to this, and thank you all so much for this.
Thank you.
All right, item 9. Ms. Lewis, this is our procurement policy follow-up. I know that Ms. Lewis is going to give us a bit of a background on this. This came out of our December 2024 meeting when we made some changes to our procurement policy, but other parts of the procurement policy we kept the same. There were some trustee questions, and now you are back to give us some additional information. We have a potential vote on this, but not necessarily a vote.
Yes, ma'am. So just briefly, we're going to just talk briefly about the changes that were made in December 2024 to the board, the CPS Energy board procurement policy. The item that was left open was a discussion around thresholds for board approval for various purchasing requirements, and then to ask for your feedback today. There is no action required. If the board wants to take action, it would require a vote. So just as a reminder, the board reviewed the procurement policy in December and agreed to a handful of changes, 2 of which were new additional exemptions in the policy that allow us to bypass a competitive solicitation. We have not used either of these exemptions yet. We did them proactively. The first was to consider one for products or technology that would be considered innovative and proprietary. That would have to be something that would be exceptionally unique, not something that could be purchased off the shelf, or things that were tied specifically to reliability, resiliency, or sustainability. So that was one of the proposed exemptions. The second was an exemption that would allow us to bypass or enact a sole source procurement process in the event that we had a cyber or physical security vulnerability. What we're asking in that case is not to be required to put out an RFP that says, hey, universe, we have a cyber or physical security vulnerability. Let us tell you about it so you can bid on it. Again, neither of these have been acted upon at this time. The policy also included some updates to procedures relative to supplier certification and reporting. And those were incorporated. And the item that was left undiscussed or unfinal was the procurement thresholds for the board approval. What we were asked to do is get some benchmarking data. And so we reached out in January to the Large Public Power Council. That's a industry organization of the largest municipal and cooperative utilities in the country, and asked for feedback. We sent a survey using LPPC, and they returned that data to us. So we got a full range of responses to that. What we learned was that consistency really was around the structure of their respective governance and or their state and federal requirements within their service area. Variances ran the gamut. We saw things where budget approval was the only thing that their respective governing body reviewed, and did not review contracting or purchasing at a granular level. We saw entities where they only reviewed contracting or procurement when it was a variance from the planned budget. We also saw some that reviewed it reviewed procurement specific by project. So that was another. And there were some that had threshold values very similar to the way that we are doing it today. And those thresholds also vary widely, just like the public utilities do. There are small public utilities that have to approve everything that, every procurement, and some that don't start reviewing them until they hit $1 million. So we had this extremely wide range of data. In preparation for this conversation, we also met with OOC members, Operational Oversight Committee members, and the Audit and Finance Committee members to get feedback. And I think there were discussions around, should we adjust the procurement levels? So on this slide, I will direct your attention to the 4th column that says current. The 4 categories of procurement are there on the left, and the threshold limits we exercise today are under current. So general services, what gets brought to the board is anything above $10 million. In 2024 numbers, this board reviewed 16 purchase orders, or 35% of the procurement in that category. It met that threshold. If we had at the time in December recommended that we increase them, but just because of inflationary reasons, we're not married to any particular increase, but we had made a suggestion based on inflation and doubled them. If we reduced the limits, you'll see in the two columns to the left of current, what those number of POs would have been to review for the board in 2024, were we to shift the limits to another number. So just to orient you to this slide. We can do anything that this board would like to do. You all are the fiduciary responsibility lies with this board, and so the level of comfort that this board has with what you review and examine in a PO sense is ours to execute. So we just gave these as a range for you all to review and consider. And with that, I will leave the conversation to the trustees about what discussion or further input you all would like to have on threshold levels.
I'm going to defer to Vice Chair Mackey to start this discussion.
Ms. Lewis, the information that you shared with us through 2 emails about other companies, what they're doing, did you give me a copy of that? Because
I believe Board Relations did provide a copy of that.
okay, they provided to me twice. Can you explain that to me? I don't know. I can't read it.
What you're looking at, so I apologize.
We are looking at something that is too small for me to read, so.
I couldn't read it, so maybe you could explain it to me, then I could interpret it to me. Because I've been trying and I've been asking, but it's unreadable, right? I'm correct, right? I've asked for it twice, and I've asked for a larger copy of that so I would know more about but.
Do you want to see it, Ms. Lewis? So you know what we're talking about?
Yes. If I may.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is
That's
that it
okay.
right there? Oh, is that it?
This. I thought
That's
for them today. Oh, I have a copy here in larger format.
Oh, yeah, yes. I would like that, please. Please.
Is there a slide for that one we could look at? Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Dr. Mackey, the benchmarking we did really didn't provide any kind of good framework for any consistency. It's all over the place, from local organization to local public organization and, utilities all across the country. Every governance model is different. So, it wasn't real helpful to give you some semblance of what made sense for us. That's why we're kind of back to whatever the will of the board is on this issue, we will follow.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. I have the red line issue that was issued us in December, the red line piece, and mostly changed diversity to development programs. And it says senior leadership, executive leadership, instead of CEO.
That's right.
That's right.
That's the bulk of the bulk of the changes were to the language in the policy, updates to position titles, adjustments for supplier development, certification, et cetera. There were some relatively minor changes, those 2 additions that I referenced previously.
Throughout this whole red line, my question today is this board has 1 employee, CEO. But throughout this, it's all say the senior executive spent up to $20 million without coming to the board. So is this what we're talking about? I mean, I'm looking at the red line of this right here. That's what I've been concerned about, because if we holding the CEO responsible of the budget, and if we go back to the reduced or the current, there's a part in the procurement policy that says, on occasion, CPS general manager may have the need to act expeditiously to procure goods or services to meet a compelling business reason. Such action may include the need to bypass usual procurement practice, including board approval in accordance with the specific limitations section of this policy. The following describe the conditions under which a finding a compelling business reason. And then it goes down to, in the event that there is a need to move on without board approval, in our policy, you contact the chairman. If you're unable to get the chairman, you contact the vice chair, or you review to the whole board. Why would that reduce the need to have to go up to $10 or $20 million when you can do it going through this compelling business reason if we need to, instead of just giving the senior executive team, because the senior executive team doesn't report to us. Only one person reports to us.
I'm a senior executive, so.
You're the only one.
Well, that's right.
So why wouldn't we just put CEO instead of senior executive team?
I just want to make sure that we're clear. The policy for procurement sets the level at which the organization can execute procurements over a certain level. At 10 million, it requires your approval. I don't want to get that confused with our financial authorizations policy, which is not a board policy. It sets the limits at which certain levels, certain employees, given their level in the reporting structure, are authorized to approve the expenditure. Whether a person is authorized to approve a certain level expenditure or not, all procurements must be both within budgets that's approved by the board and consistently executed with our procurement policy. So I just want to separate out those things.
Okay, I know I was talking about the procurement policy. What you did was just describe the financial authorization, contract, and signatory procedures. And it talks about each level of employees, what they can spend up to $1 million, $5 million without coming to the board. This is through this contract right here. I've been reading all
It's
this.
not without coming to the board. I just want to make clear. Nobody can make a procurement, regardless of their ability to authorize an expenditure level, outside of following our procurement policy.
I don't go around the procurement policy, sir, and I've never used, we've never used a competitive,
Not in my time.
non-competitive process. It's in there for emergencies, and to the extent we needed to implement that provision, we would communicate that to the full board before going down that road. So I've never used it, just to be clear.
Even if we use a sole source, it comes to the Board of Trustees within these limits.
Right.
So even if we were to use a sole source procurement, it must come to the trustees for review and approval.
Yeah, it's in there, sir, for emergency purposes only, to make sure we can do our jobs for the community.
Okay, Mr. Steen.
I just want to, I just want to set the context. So, when we discussed this in December, your recommendations were the ones that are in the final column. And
Yes,
we never voted on it. I don't think there was even a motion. There
As
might
I
have been a motion,
recall,
but it
the
didn't
vote,
pass.
the vote excluded the
Yep.
threshold
Right, so we
levels.
just didn't vote on that at all. So if we don't vote on it today, then it remains at the current level.
That's correct.
But there were board members, Vice Chair, who had asked about reducing it to either the first column or the second column or whatever you want column. But that's why we brought this here today on your request for that. So I just want to clarify that for everybody. If we don't take a vote, it stays at the current level. We can have a recommendation for the higher amount. We can have a recommendation for the lower amount. We can have no motion at all. So I'm going to move over here. Mayor, any questions on this? Okay. Trustee.
Sure. So I wanted to thank Ms. Lewis for your presentation this afternoon, and your expertise on this subject and tact are highly valued. Appreciate it. And I'm going to set this up a little bit like you did. So when at our December 16th, 2024 board meeting, when at our December 16th, 2024 board meeting, this board approved substantive amendments to our board procurement policy. It was by a 4-to-1 vote. And surprising to some, I voted with the majority and was not the lone no vote. The revised policy didn't include any didn't include my suggestions for auditor oversight of the 15 exemptions to the competitive procurement process and for incorporation in the procurement policy of a trustee code of conduct. But Ms. Lewis, the revised procedure you brought to us represented progress and kept us legal, and so I voted in favor of it. However, there was an issue by one trustee, Dr. Mackey, that was not resolved at that December 2024 meeting, and that's why you're back before us today. And looking at that slide 5, and by the way, I commend you for slide 5. You've really put a lot of information on that slide, crammed it in there.
Probably too much.
But it's going over a little bit what you all have talked about, but as shown in the last column under December recommendation, at that board meeting, you proposed, correctly, higher limits.
That's correct. We proposed higher limits.
For board approval for each of the 4 purchasing categories. And regarding this staff recommendation, my response was that I think it's healthy and beneficial for this board to review and approve large procurement items in a public setting. The idea of letting the sun shine on the process, as they say. Further, I said I believe it's going in the wrong direction if, as a result of this examination and revision of our procurement policy, we authorize raising thresholds for board approval. And Ms. Lewis, I got your rationale, but generally more sunlight shed on the process is better than less. At that December meeting, and since Dr. Mackey, I believe I'm stating this correctly, that you prefer to go in the opposite direction and lower the threshold. Is that correct? That's the impression I got at the last meeting.
Yeah, I prefer to stay presently where we at.
Okay, so I didn't understand that part about staying where we are, going lower. And so, and I've talked about this with Ms. Lewis, but I think the thresholds we've been operating under for a good deal of time, do you know roughly how long?
At least since 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, we've over the years, sir, gone, and I called Milton Lee and some past leaders. We've gone progressively from 2 million to 5 million to 10 million, just as things got more expensive and our business grows. So it's been over 20 years at least.
So I just said that it's set forth in the column labeled current, and I think I've been on the board a long time. It's worked well, and I don't believe it needs to be lowered. So that's my view, and I think maybe other trustees have other views on this, but that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Gonzalez.
So just kind of a couple of things. So current key facts, I think, current threshold is 1 million for general services and commodities, 50K for professional services. The proposed threshold, 20 million for general services and commodities, 1 million for professional services. On December the 20th, 2024, I did support that. I was a current chair for that, and only because we've seen recently the attacks at cities, and so I do believe that is cybersecurity is a real threat. Utilities are probably the #1 targeted based on statistics, and so I was in support of that. However, I understand the goal of efficiency, but raising the threshold to 20 million without board approval is a significant change. For context, most public utilities keep board oversight much lower. I believe Austin Energy and San Antonio Water Systems generally require approval at around 1 million, and LADWP rarely exceeds 5 million without a board vote. Some even cap at 10 million. So can you explain, and I've heard it, but can you explain it again, why 20 million is the right number for CPS Energy? And how will we maintain transparency and public trust at that level? And then I do have a follow-up question.
Okay, I think that the right number is set by the trustees. Again, this is about the trustees having the comfort with the fiduciary oversight that you all provide and wanting to make sure that you're comfortable with it since you are the fiduciaries. We did propose adjustments based on how much inflation had gone up since these were put in place, the current rates were put in place. We can operate within the current just fine or at any level that the trustees prefer. It was really the calculations of inflation that prompted I think, if I remember right, it calculated out to like $18.9 million for general services, and we just thought that sounded silly and made it 20.
Well, and I'll add, there are other ways to get to a greater level of transparency or whatever level of transparency the board and community are looking for. I've proposed, as Dr. Mack and I have been talking through this, that we can give you reports on a quarterly basis showing all of our contracts so that you see, where we're spending our money. We're again, right this year, I think we're at 72% of local spend. I'm proud of that number. But, we're here to serve the community at the will of the board. And so, what I want is just a clear expectation, however we go, and then we'll move forward with that. When we went through the process of updating the procurement policy, I asked the team, give me a full meal deal on, what a revised and updated procurement policy might look like, and we moved that forward. So again, this is just the last, kind of thing we need to button up, and we can go in whatever direction the will of the board has.
I did have a follow-up. I'm sorry, Mayor. We met before I flew out. Did you follow up with Dr. Mackey with some of my recommendations on the reports or some of my statements?
No, ma'am, I did not have that opportunity. I was out on Friday.
Okay,
I had personal health.
that continues to be an ongoing concern. I was hoping that today some of this conversation would have gone in a different direction. We keep providing feedback and finding ways to be more efficient even at these meetings, and yet phone calls are not made to trustees in hope of, again, being more collaborative in nature, both with staff and trustees. So I'm a little disappointed that that phone call did not take place.
I appreciate that. I also have to be concerned I don't create walking quorum on your behalf. So
Well,
I'm very sensitive to that.
But a lot of the information, then why meet with me? What's the point of meeting with the trustee to provide feedback, and then there's not a legal process? Y'all are pretty good about telling us what we can and cannot do at these meetings in public and behind the scenes. So I would think y'all would find a way to communicate information still be within the law. My other question would be, and this is something I'm not sure what committee, and I believe it might be Mr. Steen, the chair. I mean, I would even be open to considering a phase approach, starting at more reasonable levels, like 5 million, and revisiting in 12 months to measure the impact before making major jumps. So I am a little flexible in some areas, and I hope that whoever's chairing that process understands that I understand. We have a lot of information we have to go through. But if we can always, I will be open to a phased approach, but I currently like where we stand today.
Mayor?
Yeah, I did actually want to jump in and share something. I think optics are also always important when we do these things. And so if we know we're going to go to the city council next year and ask for a rate increase, on top of then potentially raising the thresholds at which certain things come to this board, I think I'd be cautious with that. So in general, if there have not been any issues raised with the current approach, I support the current approach.
Thank you, Mayor. I also support the current approach, so I'm not going to be making a motion in either direction. But do we have any more discussion?
Just an observation, just from hearing the discussion, it seems like we've got 3 trustees that are not wanting to change this, so.
Well, it seems like it, but I think if anybody wants to change it, now is in any direction and to any amount, now is the time to make a motion. So floor is open for motions.
I make a motion that to support the current 10 million, 500, 10 million, 1 million procurement policy. So we have a motion on the table with that.
Just for clarity, no motion is required, no votes required if no change to the policy is requested.
I would like to make the motion because I like the policy to be the same as it was after looking at all that redlining stuff and things that hopefully it doesn't change, but if we make a motion to continue the way it was, then it stays the same.
There is no reason why we could not have a motion and a vote, though, correct?
I just want to make sure that we're clear what we're asking. I'm not sure if Vice Chair Dr. Mackey was asking to go back to the changes that were approved in December on all other issues, because that is what the red lines address that he is referencing.
I think his motion was simply to keep the levels at the current, as they are in the current column.
That is what they are at right now.
Yes. Right, and that way we just have a record that we did in fact vote today. There is nothing wrong with us doing that.
So just to reiterate, you're proposing that we maintain the policy that's in your books, starting on page 54, as it is written, because it includes that set of thresholds under current. That is the policy that's active today, so you're proposing that we maintain the policy we have now.
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor?
I want to be clear. It sounds like if we don't take any action, then the current state is the current state. Okay. So what would be the value then of making a motion for the current state if we already have that?
I don't want to speak for the vice chair. I think it was just for us to end this cleanly because we've been discussing it for so long and that we have it on the record that, yes, we voted to keep it the same. There were no loose ends on this. We just voted to keep it the same. So I'm going to second the motion. And I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Dr. Mackey?
Yes.
Trustee Steen? Yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
I am drowning. All right, sorry, I was drowning in paper. We are on item 10, account management and past due balances.
Thank you, Chair. I have the honor and pleasure of coming back to follow up on my June 30th presentation to you, following up on the questions that y'all had, as well as to follow up on the many visits that we've had from Didi Belmaris and the coalition to address their concerns regarding disconnects. But before I go into answering and responding to the questions that you had, first I'm going to hand it over to Devi Kumar Nambiar. She is our Vice President and Legal Counsel. She's going to start us off with the legal components, and then I'll go into addressing your questions, hopefully.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Deanna. So we know that recent meetings, we've had customers share how stressful it is to face a possible disconnection. And those stories, they certainly matter to us. And so today I wanted to just spend a few minutes prior to Deanna's presentation to kind of walk through our legal framework and the things that we're sort of constrained by, but then in addition, the things that we have been able to do to help our customers. So state law requires that we must impose and collect all charges for services. And this really has two practical reasons as well as legal. The practical reasons underlie the legal reason of providing service, but that's also so that we can make the system upgrades, operate and maintain our wires and our pipes, and replace equipment as necessary. And if we are not doing that, then we are at risk of not being able to provide reliable service to our customers. Second, we have an obligation to pay all of our debt obligations. And when we talk about stopping disconnections and not collecting on the past due amounts, it potentially could put our financial wherewithal at risk. And what I mean by that, again, from a practical perspective, if we stop collecting, then we don't have as many funds to then repay all of the bondholders and the debts that we've issued, right? And that could then have several downstream effects, like a reduction in our credit rating, which then leads to higher borrowing costs, and then that then leads down the path of less affordable rates for our customers. And as you know, we have some of the most affordable rates in Texas and the country. The law is also clear that we can't provide any free service, and by stopping disconnections and not collecting, that is in effect what occurs. But I did also want to spend just a couple minutes on what we've been able to do, even despite these legal constraints, and want to highlight the programs on the screen, but then also talk specifically about ADP, our Affordability Discount Program, and our REAP program. Both of these have had meaningful touch points for us from a legal perspective, right? The Affordable Discount Program, as an example, has been upheld in courts to allow discounts for our low-income customers and other categories as well. But really germane to that ADP program is really about low income. And REAP is a collaboration that we've been able to support with the City of San Antonio and Bexar County as a 501c3 entity that allows for bill assistance for our customers. We also have energy efficiency programs. We have several programs for seniors, critical care customers, and others. And always we offer bill payment plans and extensions. And so I want to hand it off to Deanna, but before I do, I just wanted to give the board a minute to ask questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'm happy to pass the mic.
Thank you, Davy. So I'm going to start off and just anchor us in some slides that you've seen before, and just to reassure you that we are continuing the trend that we have had in the past, where our accounts receivables are continuing to go in a positive direction, whereas the industry trend is that there are growing past due receivables. We are continuing to go in the opposite direction when you look at the total number of customer accounts. And I know one question, Mayor, that you had asked on this slide specifically was when we look at the different boxes, specifically on the may be written off, so it's that tiny orange box right there, that the accounts that are at risk of being written off, that represents $25 million. And for the gray box, it's accounts that are at risk of being disconnected, it's $30 million. And then for the blue box, those are customers that are engaged in maintaining their plan, that represents $63 million. And if you see the next slide, that actually breaks it down here a little bit easier to see. So it's the percentage as well as the dollars amount. And this takes out the current the current accounts receivables, and just focuses on the past due. And it shows that since our peak, where we were at $208 million past due, we are, as of the end of June, we literally cut that in half. And on top of that, we have been able to cut the average past due balance for each customer down. It was from close to $900, now it's close to $400. I know one question that we received is about the installment plan approach that we use, and we do try to work with customers and meet them where we're at, which is why on average our customers see about a 2-year installment plan repayment process. But basically, what we've been trying to do is work with customers and help them eat into that past due balance, as well as stay current, so that that debt doesn't continue to mount up. And because of that, we've been able to help bring that old debt down, keep them more current, and we've seen that over about 80% of customers, which is an industry high, we're second in the utility industry, are able to stay on their installment plans. However, we know that there's times whenever customers just aren't able to stick on that installment plan. We did review our guidelines for installment plans. So one of the first adjustments that we did was at first we would not go past a certain amount we would do 3-month installment plans, 6-month installment plans. Then we went up to 2 years. Now we continue to do even longer than that if necessary. We try and stick to 2 years. But we know that the situations come up. We have tried to put more flexibility into those installment plans, but we know that there's situations that might come up. So one thing we know we need to do better is continue to work with our grassroots organizations. And Trustee Gonzalez, I know this is something that you and I have spoken about, is how do we continue to connect with our grassroots organizations so that we can find out when there's those special circumstances, we can get that referral and we can see what special circumstances or adjustments we can make. And now just going into more questions to the mayor and to Trustee Gonzalez, your questions about customer demographics. First off, it's where are the past due accounts across the city? And so first, we have both customers inside and outside the San Antonio city limits. So I'll focus at first that 77% of our accounts that are past due are located within the San Antonio city limits. But I think one thing that tends to be a surprise when people see this data is that the past due accounts are really spread out over across all districts. And the accounts that the districts that you would think are going to be the highest amount past due really is not that. This is actually following the national trend, a macroeconomic national trend, where you're seeing that really over the last year, people who have been, let's say, in the past year, the share of people making late card payments is in people with the highest income zip codes, and they're the ones struggling more than people in lower income zip codes. So on a macroeconomic perspective as well as local, that kind of our trends are matching up here. But so what that indicates to us is we need to continue to learn what we can do and connect with those customers so that we can get them connected with payment plans early on and find other programs to help them manage their bill. This is a trend that we had to learn during COVID. People who had never been struggling paying their bills before, they started struggling to pay their bills. This is a new demographic that we're going to have to continue to connect with and find out how to adapt and get them the resources that they're eligible for. And I'll go into a little bit more about the demographics that we have, and hopefully this gets to Mayor and Trustee, the questions that you were asking. It's what other demographic information do we have? So residents of about 25 to 54 make up half of the city of San Antonio, yet they represent the majority of our past due accounts. By contrast, seniors ages 65 and older make up 13% of the city, but only a sliver of our past due accounts. And this shows that while we need to continue sharing information in a meaningful way with our senior population, we also need to hone in on our core workforce and family-raising generations. And for us, that means, and you'll see that 65% number there, that's really what the United Way calls the ALICE population. That's asset limited, income constrained, and employed. A lot of people refer to that as the working poor, but really it's people who have to make choices each and every day and on what bills to pay. And we understand that there's still struggles that are being made. So that's what, we're seeing something along those same lines. So by looking at the income data and then also overlaying usage data, we deep dive into energy burdened. And so that is looking at how much someone's utility bill is based on their income level. And I think one thing that's also counterintuitive is people who have a severe energy burden. That's people who have more than 10% of their income goes towards their energy bill. They tend to use a lot more energy. You can see over 1,300 kWh more than someone who does not have that energy burden. And so for what we've been doing, especially over the last couple of years, is targeting our messaging and our outreach specifically to those customers who are severely energy burdened. And so I'm going to go into that a little bit more there. But what I wanted to do before I did that is a lot of times I get to tell you about my team members who are out there on the streets and knocking on doors and answering phone calls. This team hides in the shadows, so I wanted to bring them out. This is the data team, so I even told them to sit down, and they didn't even want to do that. But this is my team of data folks. Wave. It's our customer experience team. So they do everything they can to use abacuses, as Shanna reminds me, to get the data that we can to try and learn what our customers need or who they are, and then how to connect them with the people who are out there knocking on the doors and sending them messages. And I wanted to give them an opportunity and a shout out. Thank y'all for all that you do. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for y'all. So, yes. So with a team like this, you get data that you can do something with. And what that means is they have a desire to connect with other members of my team and other members of the community. And so what you see up here on the left side is a zip code map. The zip code is where we see customers who are experiencing the highest energy burden. But at the same time, we've got to think about that all zip codes or all parts of town are really experiencing the past due balance challenge. So what you see in the middle there is the community engagement. We are in 10 places on average, Monday through Saturday. And so some of those you can see on the orange dots represent home visits, and the blue dots are outreach visits. So that's everything from being at a community fair or hosting our own community fair to being at a senior citizen center, at a church. But all of this is making sure that we are focusing and being where we need to be. The one thing this doesn't represent is this data also ties into the data that you just saw. Because whenever we're going to those different locations, a community fair, or we do a pop-up, we're also out there block walking. We're knocking on doors saying, hey, we're going to be in your community on this day. We're going to put a door hanger and say, hey, we're here. We'd love to see you. We'd love to talk to you. But those specific outreach efforts are driven by the data that you saw on the other page. It says, hey, these people need additional touch points to bring them out to the event, or they might need something more to be educated about the programs and services that we have. And that's also what informs our targeting messaging. So the targeted messaging that we do really, and I got to debut that last time where we got to talk about we're here for you and highlight the folks that work hard each and every day to connect customers with solutions. And, you know, we try and do everything we can. I always say, short of smoke signals and carrier pigeons, if there's a way to get a message out, we've got it, and we're trying to get there to get that message. But we know that there's more customers that we need to be able to reach. So this is just continuing to find ways to leverage the information, leverage not just the zip codes, but if we can find a way to get marketing messages specific to the customer who would be more who we know needs assistance more than they need just to know general messaging about us, that's the message that they're going to get. And we're going to continue to refine it. We know it's not perfect, and we're open to ways that we can continue to improve. So, Dr. Mackey, this was a request of yours to see could you see a list of all of our programs and what it takes to qualify? And it's a lot of information. It's an eye chart, so I apologize. And so it's two slides, this slide and the next. To simplify this so that every customer doesn't have to figure out where they need to fit in, this team that I just highlighted in combination with our IT team, they did put in our assistance finder, and that is where you just go online, fill out one application, and then it comes up and says, based on the information you provided, you are eligible for these programs. Would you like to learn more? So still not a automatic qualification or automatic enrollment, but it gets us one step further. I know there has been questions, a couple of questions that we've received. One is that we understand that Austin Energy or other utilities might do auto enrollment. There has been challenges with the auto enrollment, specifically on the discount program, where if you just use someone's usage or their income, sometimes it misrepresents things. So that the data should just point you who you should talk to. It shouldn't point to auto enrollment. And there's another requirement that says we cannot auto enroll people. But what it does mean is that we can go through, and a lot of times I talk about the bundled care. I don't go into a lot of the details, though, of the MOUs that we put into place so that we can do data share. So I'll give an example of the Opportunity Home, for example. Anytime someone moves into an Opportunity Home facility, they have to sign a waiver that releases their usage information to Opportunity Home and allows us to send them information because if they qualify for Opportunity Home, they're going to qualify for our affordability discount program and possibly more. So it allows us to streamline the process. It just doesn't allow us to do the auto magic part just yet. And Mayor, this is a slide for your ask. It was, when we talk about Casa Verde and the weatherization program, this shows a breakdown by district of why applications tend to be deferred for homes that we can't weatherize. Overall, the majority of the homes that we are not able to weatherize or do they get deferred is because it's either got sufficient insulation, it's a newer home, or they have already participated. Other places is that we see that that either because there's structural, small repairs needed, but because of that, that's where we were able to partner with the city's Department of Neighborhood and Housing Services and create the RAP, the Small Home Repairs Program. So with that, we can get small homes repairs done and then also go ahead and do some weatherization programs on top of that. So that's helped us continue to improve. And again, we know we're not perfect, but it's just given us one more opportunity to help go back to those applications that we had to defer before. We were able to go back to them after we got RAP in place. I know we had some questions over if we keep records related to the effectiveness of Casa Verde. We do. We keep 3 years of effectiveness, and I know that there's going to be an upcoming presentation on STEP, but happy to go into more details on what we see either in STEP or follow-up moving forward. And then this is really kind of just trying to bring it all together. One question I think Trustee Gonzalez, you asked is how do you know if you're effective? And for us, our goal, whenever we set out and started to build the data, is how do we, if we're out there, we're connecting with customers, all we can tell is the enrollment. So it's using the targeting approach, our customers listening to our message and doing something with it. So this is a bit of a different zip code chart, and it shows the effectiveness of our approach over the past few years. And so this shows the zip code 78245, which has the highest past due accounts, also shows one of the largest program participations that we have. And so it shows that we're getting closer to help people use the resources that we do have. Now it's just a matter of figuring out what else do we need. And as part of that, that means that we have to continue to engage with our community. We speak with over 6,000 customers daily. As I mentioned, we're in about 10 places in the community each and every day. On top of the impressions that we make through our marketing campaign, we're trying to do everything we can to engage with our community. We do online surveys, social media, focus groups, showing up in senior citizen centers. We do office hours in council members' offices. We facilitate community meetings, and we'll continue to seek any other opportunities to connect. And with that, we'll take any additional questions. I know, Dr. Romero, I probably didn't hit all the questions that you had.
Oh, that's fine. I will have a lot of questions, but we'll start with the mayor this time.
Thanks again for the very helpful presentation and digging into the data. Again, as with the rate request on the horizon, and already seeing how many folks are already vulnerable, a sensitivity analysis for this body, but also for the council will be helpful because again, your programs are effective now, but a sensitivity analysis that helps us understand how much more they may need to do or how much more in demand they may be as a result of that increase will be helpful.
Yes.
Can you help me understand those folks that are energy burdened? Are those folks perennially energy burdened, as in they're folks on fixed income and they have their energy bill is higher relative to their, or the bill amount is higher relative to their income, in part because they are at home and maybe not able to work, or are folks normally energy burdened on the way to disconnection? Can you just help us understand what that looks like?
So we're still looking to identify and understand more about the customers who are experiencing a severe energy burden, but it really is, some of it is just an inefficient home. And so, or you have multiple generations that are living inside one home, so they don't have an opportunity to have the downtime, or if someone's always in the house and someone's always using the power, and plus, like I said, the inefficient home. So it's a combination of the income that they already have, the income challenge that they have, as well as the usage. And we'd love to be able to help with the income side, but We know that we have our limits as a public provider of energy. So for us, we focus on how do we help get people to use our energy, use their power, but don't overdo it. One thing, and I know Dr. Romero has brought this up, is how do you get people not to go overboard with it so that they're not risking their health, so that their energy burden is better. But, you know, my mom's one of the worst of it. She does not put her air conditioner on at all. If I don't monitor her Nest thermostat, she is not going to use her AC. So I've got to make sure every single day that I'm going in and checking it whenever it's hot, because if not, she won't use it. She says, I grew up without it, I don't need it. And we know we have a lot of senior citizens out there and other people that'll do the same thing. So for us, it's about the education so that people don't underuse our product, but at the same time, showing people how to be more efficient with it.
Yep, thank you. And the only thing as in your outreach plan that I would encourage to double down on, as you shared with me, and I think it's very helpful to know that you have more flexibility to be helpful with folks before they're past due.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And so letting them know that, and I think clarifying if you, not only are you more flexible, but is the help potentially more generous if it's before they're past due. I think helping people understand again when they can help themselves the most is going to be helpful, especially as we enter into a very difficult economic environment here. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Trustee Gonzalez?
First of all, just again, want to make sure I point out the following. So past due balances are down from 208 million to 112 million. That's about 15% below pre-pandemic levels, if that's what I understood. So first of all, I want to thank the team for its strong outreach, bilingual messaging across the city. I do social listening, so I've been able to see it in action. I personally also will comment and encourage people, both in Spanish and English, to reach out to y'all. So I want to thank you for the effort, because I even know that we've tried over the years different ways to communicate that, and I have to say this has been the best outreach I've seen since I've been a freshman. So thank you for that effort. Can you go to, and first of all, thank you for slides 7, 8, 9, and 14. Can you go back to, I want to say, let me see, go back to 7? Yes. What's interesting, and thank you for providing this slide. We often hear the organizations that come and advocate are typically from the low-income areas. What I find very interesting about this chart is, again, where the needs are coming across the board, all districts, number one. It could be a couple of things. We also know there's a lot of affordable housing in all districts, because who are the employees, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the rich areas, right? It's going to be low-income people moving into affordable housing. So I can kind of explain that. But I also do believe that post-pandemic economy has been really tough, regardless of socioeconomic status, which leads me to the next comment for you to consider.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to change the CTAs, right? The call to action. I believe the mayor kind of touched on it. You know, something as simple as, you know, affordable programs designed for you, or act now before it's harder. I mean, even that simple, I do think that the current look and feel is working. I wouldn't change that, but I definitely would encourage you, based on slide 7, to tweak the CTAs, right? We call that call to action. And I think hopefully that would address what I'm seeing across the board. So thank you for that slide. Yes. And if you can go now to, I think it was slide 14. I'm sorry, because I wrote it all down really quickly. Yes. So here's what's interesting. I used to live at 78253 before I moved back to 78207. Did I understand this correctly? So the bigger the bubble, the darker it is. That means that those individuals are responding to calling. But if you look at 78207, that's not the case.
78207 does not have the
same penetration of responding to it.
Right.
So I'm really curious
the
about
same
digging
enrollment.
into that a little bit more. Is it because, again, the demographics, if I can recall, because I do a lot of research on this, the average age is 34 in 78207. It's about 51% males over females, and more than one generation, one car, average salary about $23,000, $24,000. So I'm curious about why that number is so low, knowing that we have such advocacy that shows up after every meeting, after every meeting, after every meeting, and yet those numbers are not good. And so again, that's just an observation. So thank you for for this excellent slide. And I also want to thank the chairwoman who invited me to meet with Dee Dee, and I just couldn't make it. So I know we're trying to find different ways to work with different groups, but I would like, if however you can follow up with me to kind of figure that one out.
Yes, ma'am.
We have such advocacy from that district, acquire those numbers like that. And I'm not saying it's their responsibility. I'm just curious, other than the demographics I just described.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And there's more males and females in that district. And then my question, and I'll end with this. For those listening, how does this progress translate into continued support for customers if external pressures increase? And what additional solutions we're going to explore to keep compassion at the center of approach? And granted, I do believe that you are doing that. I especially am a big advocate of the bundle approach and what I saw today in the slides of 7, 8, 9, and 14. So I want to thank you because I know over the years we've tried to be very proactive about this, but I do think that this data introduced some new things that we need to be consider. And then if you can just follow up with me to find out why is it not working at 78207.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again to your team and to the data, and I'm here to support.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to go ahead with my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can you first explain the differences between RAP and Casa Verde?
Yes, so RAP is RAP does small someone's got to help me here. I can't remember what RAP stands for off the top of my head now all of a sudden, but it is the small repairs for the house. So just think of, if there's a small roof repair, there's a leak that needs to be covered, that sort of thing. It's anything that's small. I think right now we're looking between $3,000 to $10,000 underneath that. Then that gets done through the support that we can get in partnership with the city. And then once we can do that, then the house can pass the code so that we can go ahead and weatherize the home, and it's safe to weatherize the home. So weatherization allows us to put in insulation in the ceiling, allows us to do weather stripping and so forth.
Okay, thank you. I did want to also just emphasize again that, and we talked about this, we did have a great meeting with Dee Dee and her group last week, and the whole underuse issue.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like the hidden part of an iceberg.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
That's a huge issue, which I know you're aware of. Slide 5. So I know you put together a slide that responded to my thing about the life cycle, and then I said, "Who asked for this? I can't understand this."
Yes, ma'am.
It was a good slide, but it was really hard to understand.
We're still working on that. Yes, ma'am.
So I guess just my basic question remains this. So when people move out of at risk of disconnection, would you say it's more likely that they're moving back into a plan, or more likely that they're moving in collections and in danger of being written off?
It's more likely that they're moving into a plan. So after being disconnected, about 90% of accounts get reconnected that same day and are signing up for a plan.
Okay, great. I would love to see that in graphic form, because I think that is a win for you.
We can isolate that one. Putting together that sand key was fun and exciting.
Yes, it was. Okay, so then for slide 7, and I know Trustee Gonzalez talked about this a little bit, but so this is showing that District 8 has the highest number of accounts, but it's not telling us the amount, right? So they could have a lot of accounts that are just a little bit overdue, because it doesn't really seem to square with the other big map, the one we were just talking about in 14.
Well, some of the challenge is that the zip codes overlap on the districts, so there's not a clear break for zip codes. So That's why we can have like one or the other. But we can show this. We actually do have the one that has the dollars amount too. So I can follow up and show you the dollar amount and what the average past due account is in District 8. And we're still getting into trying to understand what it is and who it is in District 8. We saw the biggest difference in District 5, I'll be honest, was the councilwoman was very active with us. She was block walking. She was one of the ones that was sharing a lot of our content, being out there with us and sharing information. So we need to spend some time with the new District 8 councilwoman, and then also just continue to understand who those customers are, and like Trustee Gonzalez said, is what the call to action for them will be.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's a very diverse group of people
There
in
is.
District 8 now. It's not the old District 8, so it's interesting, and
Right.
I'd be happy to help with that as well.
Right.
On slide 8, I'm sure this is good. I'm just not a big fan of these figures on the left. Sorry for whoever did that. I know you spent a lot of time on it. Can we just drill down into this 65 and over? So if 86% of past due accounts are under the age of 65, then about 14% of past due accounts are over the age of 65?
Yes.
Okay, but that's about the percent of people in the community that are over 65.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think what might be more helpful to know is, of people who are over 65, what percent of them are past due? And compare that to the percent past due in the other age groups. Because this just does, I mean, it's kind of helpful. It's saying, well, it's not disproportionate, but still, that would be helpful to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On slide 11, let's see, can you just tell me how many times can people use the senior citizen late payment waiver?
Once you're enrolled in it, it's good.
Oh, okay, great. And then just something I had brought up when we had the meeting last week, you know, because I've been trying to read about this a lot, and if anybody wants to read it, there's a really good article in the Energy Law Journal called Utility Disconnections and Shutoffs, and they talk about this issue nationwide, and they have some best practices, many of which I was saying we not only do, but we are exemplars on,
yes,
I believe. But there's a couple that we don't do, and I wanted to ask you about them a little bit. So one is that establishing a practice that when a utility writes off bad debt due to customer non-payment, there is similar debt forgiveness for the customer's account tied to the debt that was written off. And we do not do that.
That
So
is
can you
correct.
explain that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to phone a friend and get the lawyer up here.
Dr. Romero, I would say generally speaking, the writing off bad debt or uncollectible debt is again goes back to the argument about public benefit and using public funds for a public purpose. And so there's generally a sense that you have to be able to have a justifiable reason or connection in the things that we do and the money that we spend and how we spend it. And that has been held as one that would not be save for very unique circumstances like COVID, for example, in which there was a disaster under the Texas Disaster Act. A public health emergency was declared. And so in that scenario was different. So barring a circumstance like that, that enables us at the local, state, federal level to be able to do something like that, it would not be upheld.
And Chair, if I could just add a little bit, when we paused disconnects, the PUC actually issued an instruction, and it was a deferral of disconnections. It was not a removal of disconnections. So that was in place. Also, do want to note that we often get questioned about why SAWS can do something and we can't. And SAWS in the past has done what you suggested, which is to write off the debt on the account when the debt is written off the books. One of the considerations that the PUC will look at in the reasonableness of our rates is whether when you have a discount or an affordability that causes someone to pay less than they are billed for the service, is there a public benefit that is provided? And in a lot of cases, there is. What is the total cost of the plan, and is there a material financial impact on the organization? So in this case, I know that's a complex legal answer, but for CPS Energy to forgive the customer debts in the amounts that we are talking about, it would not be a low financial cost, and it would have a material financial impact to the organization. So that is some of the factors that weigh into the consideration.
Okay. Something we talked about last week, and I know you're already doing this, but I would like if we could have a discussion at some point with medical providers and social workers so that we're making sure not only to support people who have medical devices that it would be disastrous if they lost power, but also to really clarify aside from the medical devices, particular conditions that would be worsened by the loss of power combined with climate crisis. So maybe things that we don't consider now that would be particularly bad for people with the loss of air conditioning or the loss of heat. And so I do think that just would involve more outreach to the medical community, to the social work community, where we can have a better network of information for that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the last one, which it's a big question, but just I know that we have the rules on the heat index and the 32 degrees that we don't disconnect at those times. But I think also with the climate crisis, there are other sorts of weather conditions that could endanger people's health that maybe we need to review that list. Things like flooding is an obvious example, but other conditions that are coming with the climate crisis that are not just extreme heat and extreme cold, but would count as a necessary justification to cause disconnections.
Yes, ma'am. I will tell you from an operational standpoint, in the event that we do see a large number of outages, or we do expect to see outages, we do pause on disconnects for those specific reasons, because we want to make sure that, one, we can prioritize restoration, we don't cause confusion, but we're happy to see what we can do to help either if we want to update our terms and conditions or make any changes or make sure we've identified the appropriate ones.
Okay, thank you, and thank your team who still remains standing for all their work. Vice Chair, questions, comments?
Yes. Ms. Hardwick, I want to thank you and your team for your hard work and all the things you do and helping customers out with all the different programs that we have, the Affordable Discount Program, the Residential Energy Assistance Program, Energy Efficiency Program for seniors, critical care, and other customers, bill pay and arrangement plans. Thank you and your entire team for the good work that y'all doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mackey.
Dr. Mackey, I want to punctuate one point because I've benchmarked this with my colleagues across the country. There's not a utility in America that does more outreach than CPS Energy, not in terms of the number of events, not in terms of the programs we have, for our customers. We have over time met the community where they want us to be, within the constraints that set forth in the law, and we've ramped that up since the COVID time, and we've gotten better at it, and we're more specific in the help that we're giving to people, the way they need the help. So I just want to punctuate that point. My colleagues laugh at me when I tell them we're 10 places a day for 6 days a week all throughout the year. Because they just don't work that hard in that regard. So and again, this is my CSI team. I always joke, if you want an answer to a data question, this is the team that you ask. So I want to personally thank you all for continuing to lean in and do the great work that you all do.
Thank you. Trustee Steen.
So I wanted to thank Ms. Hardwick and also Ms. Kumar Nambiar. And that was a very thorough update. And you heard, Ms. Hardwick, you heard my early remarks on the board minutes. And I do want to note that you do an excellent job with the Operations Oversight Committee minutes, and we call that the OOC, that your OOC minutes should be held up as a template.
Thank you, sir.
And, but of course, we're talking now about past due balances. If you'll put up slide 3, the legal framework, Chapter 1502, Texas Government Code. At our last meeting, we had 15 community leaders and members advocating that CPS Energy cease disconnections. Some of them have espoused the view that electric service is a right regardless of the ability to pay. And I'm just focused on that blue rectangle at the bottom where it sums it up. It says, per Texas code, we must impose, collect for charges and cannot allow any free service. And I don't think it'd be any clearer than that. We must follow the law, right?
Yes, sir.
I believe the thoroughness of your presentation is responsive to requests made by some on this board for more granularity on the issue of past due balances. And thanks for the particulars you provided. I know it takes a lot of time and effort to provide that level of detail. I want to just focus on the big picture. And if you'd please put up slide 5, entitled Counts Receivable, Current and Past Due Count. And while updated by a couple of months, this is the same chart we discussed at our June 30th board meeting. The rectangles span the last 5 years, and if you look closely at the bottom of each rectangle, you can see that proportion of our customers who are in arrears, or another way to say it, past due, and you can see it's roughly 20%. I said it earlier, but we're on it again. There's been no significant improvement in the percentage of our customers in arrears in 5 years. Now, we can have some extolling phenomenal progress and great progress on this issue, but the fact remains that 1 in 5 of our customers struggles to pay his or her CPS Energy bill on time, and that equates to 174,000 customers as of June 2025, and I'll just repeat that, 174,000 of our customers. And then, as we all know, CPS Energy is rapidly approaching management's next planned every 2-year base rate increase. I believe it's scheduled for the beginning of next year, 5 months from now. And I'll not go into too much detail today, but as I've expressed many times, I have ongoing concerns with the many costly acquisitions, projects, and programs CPS Energy is committing itself to, and my apprehension is that we're on a slippery slope of borrowing too much and burdening our customers too much. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This was a briefing for discussion, so we have no vote today, but thank you all. Thank your team.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I believe we are ready, Ms. Ramirez, for you to take us into executive session.
Yes, ma'am. At this time, the board is going to recess into executive session to discuss matters that have been duly posted under several provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including consultation concerning attorney-client matters under Section 551.071, personnel matters under Section 551.074, security personnel or devices under Section 551.076, to deliberate regarding security audits and devices under Section 551.089, to deliberate under Texas Government Code Section 418.183, subsection F, about confidential information under the Texas Homeland Security Act. At the conclusion of executive session, the board will reconvene in open session, continue the meeting. It is 3:42 going into executive session.
Ms. Ramirez, please bring us back from executive session.
Yes, ma'am, it is 4:35 PM and the board has concluded executive session. I can confirm that there were no votes taken and no matters were discussed that were not part of the posted agenda. We have a quorum and all members are present.
Do we have any action items to review from this meeting?
I took a number of action items and I will review them now. The mayor asked that we add the total number of customers by zip code in the chart that was delivered to each of you in hard copy today, so we will do that. Trustee Steen asked us to include the objections to the minutes and his reasons for his no vote in the second vote on the consent agenda. Chair, you request that we change the minutes to correct the spelling of the name and the language in the nature of the public comment to those minutes. Chair, you also requested at the next EBOC committee meeting that we review, I'm just referring to it on a summary basis as the Milton Lee certificate that was referred to today, and to review the cost or other barriers of multiple plans so that people can choose the plan they want in our retiree health benefits. The mayor requested additional details on the changes in the cost to retirees that we're speaking at the meetings. So we will, subject to their waiver and consent to disclosing that information, collect that information and distribute it to all trustees. The mayor also asked for a sensitivity study on the impact of the rate case on the need for assistant programs usage in the future. Chair, you asked for a graphic representation of the customers that move out of the subject to disconnect category. Chair, you also asked for us to add the average amount of the past due amount in each district on the chart reflecting the same. And then we add to the chart the percentage over 65 versus the percentage over 65 that were late in their payments to add additional detail to that chart. And by the look of your face, I will follow up with you offline to make sure I characterize that appropriately.
You said over 65 twice, and it should be over 65 versus under 65, but
okay.
I know that's what you meant.
Okay, I'm sorry. And I think that is it for the action items that I had.
Before we adjourn, I would like to thank Natalie for her outstanding job in the last 2 or 3 years. She's been wonderful and going to be hard shoes to fill. So thank you for everything that you've done, Natalie, and from us. And now I'd like to make the recommendation to, not the recommendation, but to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I wanted to add, make sure it was captured, Shana, was the analysis that was done as to where the we could not grandfather in that last 20%, right, which was 280 folks. What was the analysis that showed that we should not do that? And allowing us to understand what that number is, we may reach a different decision. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am, I'll add that to the information presented to the EBOC and not distribute it to the board. Okay.
Wait, did you say and not distributed to the board, or?
So, to both, to the EBOC and to the board.
Okay, good. All right, we were busy today. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? No, I'm sorry. Second? I second. All in favor? We are adjourned at 4:39. Jeannie, do you have 1 second?